And you're welcome back. This is GH Today. I am Serwaa Amihere. I'm certainly not here alone. I'm here with my co-host.
Yes, and Lantam, Papanko. We're excited about this nice Tuesday morning, and we're always excited anytime we have the opportunity to come your way to bring you breakfast here on the station that gives you your best experience. Today looks like it's going to be a very eventful day, huh?
Certainly. Certainly, quite a number of things.
A whole lot going on.
Yeah.
A whole lot going on. For example, the Advocates for Christ, the Arise Ghana, the is it Pentecostal Council, the churches, Muslims. I even heard Traditional Authority are all gearing up to go for a massive demonstration today because of the Family Values Bill that is still in court. And, seemingly it seems to them that the processes are being stalled and they want expedited action. In fact, they want the bill to be signed. So because of that, they are going on demonstration today. Even though the judiciary, I believe, did a press conference and talked about the reason why the bill is in its current state within the courts. I mean, the suits, it's in the current state within the courts. But there are still other demands. They still want to go on strike. So we're bringing you a coverage of that.
Certainly. And we run our viewers through the program and what to expect this morning. And so let's get right into it and begin with our quote of the day. Today's quote of the day is by John D. Rockefeller, and he says, "Don't be afraid to give up the good to go for the great." Don't be afraid to give up the good to go for the great. So that is our quote of the day. Sometimes it's the hardest decision to make, but yeah, you've got to make it. You've got to do what you've got to do to get what you want, right? So yeah, that's our quote of the day. Let's bring you our word of the day.
Our word of the day is INVINCIBLE, invincible. It's an adjective. It means too strong to be destroyed or defeated. An example of it in a sentence is, the protesters remained invincible even after they were arrested. Invincible.
Right, so yeah, that's our quote, our word of the day, and every time we bring you this, it's to help you enrich your vocabulary. I always say this, please learn a new word, at least one new word every week. But the good thing is we bring you 4 good new words every week. But even if you can't keep up and you learn one new thing every day, it goes a long way to help enrich your vocabulary. Because some of you, your English is just too flat, It's flat, and we have a duty to not just entertain you, to educate you, to inform you, and to help you become better people as you wake up in the morning, use your data, use your time, most importantly, to watch us. And so we bring you these every morning to help you enrich your vocabulary. Yeah,
so that your English doesn't become too flat. When you say the English is too flat, so what does it mean?
The people say, I'm going to come,
I'm going to come. So instead of I'm going to come, what should they say? I'll be right back.
I'll be back.
Or I'll be back.
Yeah, I'll see you some other time.
Then they will come.
Or I'll see you some other time.
I'm going to come.
Something. I mean, it's just it's just. I mean, some have a good command over the English language, but still, we learn new things every day. So please, I know some of you speak very good English. You have very good grammar in your, storage. But please, still, we always learn new things, right? Yeah.
So learn a new word every week.
Yeah.
It's very important. It will improve your vocabulary, and you will not speak flat English. You will speak English that is rich with nice words. You know who I'm reminded of?
Who?
Patintin, Papa Ni, Papa Few.
Those words that he was, were they, like, are they in the dictionary?
Some of them were actual words, some of them were made up. Some of them were made up words, but some of them were actual, you know.
I miss him
words.
so much.
Yeah,
you know.
So
did you ever, at some point, try to want to speak like
oh yes,
him?
yes, of course. You try to emulate him,
Yeah.
you know, the papacy.
Yeah.
Approach the papacy. You know, I don't know. You know, he made people want to, you know, learn how to inculcate big words
in
into
their
their
everyday.
vocabulary.
Yes,
you know,
which was very good.
Whether it was proper English or whether it was made up, you know, but he used to do a mixture of both, and he did it so well, you know. But I wonder where he is nowadays. You know, I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah. I believe that he's around.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he was on
around.
this set some time back, about 1 or 2 years ago. I think there was a program. But anyway, good morning to Papani. Yeah, good morning to you. But anyway, let's take a look at our video of the day. And of course, we bring you a video every single morning so that you are in high spirits. It's a beautiful day. It's a brand new day. Let's enjoy some music. Nice Tuesday morning, and that's our video of the day. Yes, Jesus is good, and God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. So you shouldn't forget that about the goodness of God. But anyway, still watching GH Today here on GHOne TV, and if you just tuned in, you're most welcome. Of course, my name is Lantam Papanko. Of course, I'm here with Serwaa Amihere.
Certainly. Let's now get into Inside Out. So this morning on Inside Out, we're back to having the conversation on free senior high school. I mean, it's a very essential part of our educational system, and we cannot do without it. You know, when President Akufo-Addo was campaigning to introduce and implement free senior high school or if he was voted into power, there were lots of mixed reactions. And then he finally won power and he implemented free senior high school. Look, it's being fraught with a lot of challenges, mainly infrastructural problems. And we have seen the NDC ask for a review if they come to power.
They've been saying this before the 2020 elections. They're still saying it, that if they come to power in 2025, they're certainly going to review the free senior high school. Well, the Ghana National Association of Teachers has also said that the challenges that we are seeing with the free senior high school is because there was lack of consultation. And that's why we are seeing some of these infrastructural problems. We have seen how we've had to do the double track, to be able to accommodate all of the students. We have seen food challenges. We have seen how some other students have had to sleep at certain places which ordinarily in the school, which they wouldn't have because of infrastructural problems. And you ask the NDC, for instance, if it's one of the things, that they're going to work on, and they tell you, yes, it's part of, in fact, it's the main thing that they intend to review if they come to power. But, there are other problems with the free senior high school, which is also the funding issue. But this morning, we're focusing on the infrastructural problems because there are many, including NAT, who are attributing overcrowding, for instance, to poor quality of education. And you ask yourself whether there's a nexus between the two, whether overcrowding will necessarily result in poor quality when it comes to education. Lantam.
Yeah, when there is overcrowding and there is discomfort among the pupils, or should I say the students, who are in the classrooms and are supposed to learn, it becomes very difficult. Just imagine being in a very, very large class, with one teacher who is trying to get the attention of each and every student, right? It becomes difficult to manage. But you realize that smaller class sizes are easier to manage and more effective. And so to the point that the GS is making, when there is overcrowding, in a classroom, the performance of some of the students becomes abysmal, because there is a lack of attention, because there are all these kinds of distractions, because there are too many people in the class, and so it's difficult for the teacher to handle them, among other things. And even, talking about the comfort of the students, when you take it from the classrooms and even take it into the dormitories, right, for those who are in boarding school and not necessarily even in day schools, those who are in boarding schools, when there is overcrowding in a dormitory, it comes with all kinds of, health problems and all kinds of complications that could arise as a result of that. That is why you don't have to have overcrowded dormitories, people, sleeping together, closely packed together, and all of that. There is the tendency for there to be a lot of disorderliness, if I can put it that way, in terms of, the cleanliness of the place, the cleanliness of, the bathrooms, the cleanliness of the dormitories, and all of that. Even though, of course, students are supposed to maintain and keep everything clean, it becomes difficult when there is overcrowding, and all kinds of diseases can break out. And if one disease breaks out because of the overcrowding in dormitories, it spreads and all of that. That is why with the free SHS policy, they decided that they were going to do double track, right? So that while they do double track and gradually try to phase it out, they are adding more infrastructure to be able to phase out the double track system completely. But if adequate infrastructure has not been put in place and they want to phase out the double track system, it's only going to lead to the overcrowding that Nat is talking about. So it comes back to the issue of adequate infrastructure in a lot of the senior high schools that we have to accommodate them in the classrooms and to also accommodate them in the dormitories. And I think that there is nothing wrong with actually reviewing the free SHS policy, looking at the problems that have come up as a result of the free SHS policy and dealing with that. That Nat, who is complaining about this overcrowding, are the same group, teachers group, that called for an urgent national stakeholder dialogue to look at the free senior high school program again, in relation to the country's current economy. So I don't think there's anything wrong with anybody wanting to do a review or take a second look at the free SHS policy. Yes, it's a good policy. Yes, it has expanded access to senior high school education, but it needs to get better. And that's what all of us want, really.
Of course, I certainly agree with you, but there's also not denying of the fact that there are many students who have benefited from the free senior high school policy. I am not an expert in education, so I'm unable to really speak on the quality, what we are seeing now. I have heard the arguments that quality of education has dropped. I haven't seen data to back it up, but you can understand, if students are spending less time in class, they are not having that kind of interaction with the teacher as it's supposed to be, certainly you see some decline in the quality. But there isn't enough data to back it up. But for many people, the fact that the rates or the number of students who ordinarily would have gone to school when there was no free senior high school as compared to when there is senior high school has gone up drastically. And for that, it's good for education. And I'm happy about that. Because GHOne, for instance, did a research that about 100,000 students or children couldn't go to school because of access to funding. And this is a problem that free senior high school has come to solve, even though many parents will argue that they've had to get private teachers for their students because they go to school for a few weeks, they come back home, sit home for so many months, and they go back for a few weeks. Those arguments are there. I am all for a review if it has not got to do with, the parents having to make up for paying of the school fees, because that is the biggest, advantage of the free senior high school to the many beneficiaries. I have spoken to many people on the ground who have said, in fact, one of the main reasons why they're voting for this government, if not the only, back into power if they will, is because of free senior high school. So you cannot discount its success. But challenges, yes, we've been highlighting it on the show for as long as we can. And I mean, with just 60 days to elections, I really don't know what government will be able to do in terms of reviewing free senior high school. But I've seen and heard promises by the NPP flag bearer on what he intends to do and improve it. The NDC says they will review it. They will set up a stakeholder consultation to take in suggestions on how we can make free senior high school better, but they are certainly not cancelling it. So yeah,
one of the issues that has plagued all of this obviously has got to do with funding, right? And we are in an economic state which is not necessarily the best. So it makes funding to do a whole lot of things difficult, right? And the free senior high school has faced, issues like shortage of food, where it's difficult for some dining halls to put proper food on the table for the senior high school students, to eat. So that has become a problem. I mean, recently we reported on many of those instances, here before. And of course, the infrastructure challenges that we talk about, which has led to overcrowding. Some of the teachers are saying that the classrooms have become, like market centers and all of that. It all comes back to enough money to do what is necessary to expand and make sure that everyone who is enjoying the free senior high school is enjoying it very well. And even, with the funding, people have talked about doing some sort of means testing and letting the free senior high school policy get down to those who really, really need it. And perhaps those who can afford to pay should also pay. This is a position that the former finance minister has even espoused before when he was a finance minister, talking about Ken Ofori-Atta. But there are those who believe that, look, if it's free for the richest man's son, it should be free for the poorest man's son, because all of them are Ghanaians at the end of the day, and they should be able to enjoy because they pay taxes. So a dialogue, like you said, will bring up all of these issues, and then we can find a very clear way forward in terms of improving the free senior high school policy. Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for Inside Out. But this is a conversation that we certainly need to have on the correlation between overcrowding and quality education, and it will be interesting to hear what GHOne has got to say, and even the teachers themselves. But if the teachers are complaining, who are we? That's it for Inside Out. Watching GH Today here on GH1 television. Let's now tell you what's in the newspapers very quickly here on the show.
GHOne OV van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on Dante to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rollis' state funeral, Emmys Africa Awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GHOne van has been the state of the art equipment they have. Personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GHOne provides it.
My experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. You know, the van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew, ICCU, switcher, graphics, CG, and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter or host in that studio as well and get that running.
To give an experience to our audience, we're also watching on TVs and online. Work with an Exo technology system which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts.
I prefer the GHOne van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup, because on a production you see a number of people in the van, and so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked, and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets, and so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the track and do business with it.
It looks huge, but very affordable. Cost is really, really affordable. My experience with it, EMI Awards last year, super excellent. Try it, call them, and I'm going to give you the best of price. Really affordable.
Right. You're welcome back. Mr. is here in the studio. Mutala, what's up?
To the deal.
The way you are laughing today is like you're very excited about something. What are you so excited about?
You told me to be happy, starting from Monday. So yesterday I was excited. Today I'm also excited.
I thought you were going to say you're excited because there is a...
So yesterday I watched your interview with George.
With George?
Yes, George. Yes, it was very interesting, especially the very last part of the conversation. They were asked to tell us your stance. It was very difficult for you. I don't know why it was very difficult for you.
You said it was difficult for me.
Yeah, the taping.
Why
did you watch it?
No, I
couldn't. It wasn't difficult for me.
It was difficult for you.
It wasn't difficult for me.
Sam George was asking.
No, he said he knows my stand. I was like, I've not made my stand.
You attended school in the Ningo
in his constituency. Yes.
What school is that?
That's Central University.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
So Lantam has a lot of things there to go and pick up. So you just have to.
What things do I have to go and pick up?
You led a lot of Jachu in Jachu stuff there, so you have to go back and pick those things. So a lot is happening today. Oh, so I'm a Dangbe boy.
Ah, true. Oh, okay. Ah.
Yes.
So, are you where from your name? What happened?
So my father was a convert before we were born.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Yes.
Thanks for the education.
You need to add Hausa.
You speak Hausa?
No, I can
See. Your name
Actually,
is Mutala Ime. You can't speak Hausa.
Yes.
What is that?
So I meet a lot of people and they're like, "Are you a nod now?" I was like, "Oh no, I'm not a nod."
Anyway, let's do law and let's talk about the law.
Yes.
What happened in courts yesterday?
So yesterday, interesting. Bernard Mona, the Electoral Commission, 2024 presidential election. Yes. So you notice that after his disqualification, he disagreed with the decision and then sued the Electoral Commission. Yesterday, the High Court called the case, or the case was called for the first time at the High Court. But unfortunately, we were told that the Electoral Commission could not file the necessary processes to respond to Bernard Mona's case. So it has been adjourned to next Wednesday, that's a week from tomorrow, on the 16th of October. But Bernard Mona, I've been speaking to Bernard Mona in relation to what exactly he is in court.
Bernard Mona has been speaking to Bernard Mona.
So I have been speaking to Bernard Mona. You didn't hear that? Yeah, I said that. So I want to do...
Not today.
No, but that's what he said.
No, I said I have been speaking to...
Did I hear right or I didn't hear right?
You heard right, but not today.
No, the problem was that I said I have been speaking to Bernard Mona.
Okay, no problem.
Bernard Mona has
go
been
ahead,
speaking to
Bernard Mona.
Okay.
Let's go.
So let's hear Bernard Mona on this particular subject.
One thing is certain, that the Electoral Commission is running away because they know that they did injustice to us. Otherwise, why would the Electoral Commission that has to conduct elections on 7th December, they know that they have processes to embark upon, and that part of our affidavits indicates that they should not proceed with any other processes, including printing of ballot, until I am included as a presidential candidate. So if the EC is delaying, the EC is trying to de-organize our elections. Because what the EC is doing carefully through the courts is that they will not print ballots, they will not do anything, and then come and blame me that it is because of our court processes they were not allowed to do so. Therefore, the 7th December elections may be in limbo. As it stands now, the court has agreed, and when I listened to the judge, I was very excited. He says that upon the filing of the statement of case by the EC, he can easily just go through and make a judgment without necessarily having to listen to both counsels. And so I am more than convinced that on the 16th, instead of coming here for the hearing, we may come to a judge conclusion that the EC should include that on the ballot, and then we are good to go for elections 2024.
So that is Bernard Mona, the plaintiff in this very case. So on Wednesday, he'll be back in court to see if the EC would have responded. He said he is the next president of the Republic of Ghana, so he cannot be denied the opportunity to be on the ballot. Yes, so that's one of the things that happened yesterday. And today something very big is happening. Yeah. Guess what?
The protest.
Yes.
Yeah.
The anti-gay protest.
Anti-gay protest.
Yes, it's anti-gay protest. So people are.
Is that what it's called? I thought they had a name for the.
Yeah,
but I mean there's a name for it. But that's what is popularly known.
So
anti-gay protest.
Yes. So a lot of people are blaming.
It's called the. What's it called?
Like, please, a lot of people are
match. Yeah, family values match.
Family values match.
Yes.
That's
so
what it's called. Family values.
A lot of blames have been tabled on the doorstep of the judiciary.
Yeah.
That it is because of the decisions of the court that has delayed the case. But the judiciary has been responding to that. They say, look, if you look at what is pending in court, the parties have roles to play, and as we speak, those roles, they haven't played it. So there's nothing that the court can do at this particular point in time. The registrar of the Supreme Court, Justice Ellen Ofeaye, recently she was one of the people who were elevated from the circuit court to the High Court. She has been providing some context in relation to the protest today.
In respect of Richard Sky versus Parliament of Ghana and the Attorney General, it was filed on 5th March 2024. The plaintiff also wants a declaration, among others, that the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill was passed in violation of Article 108 of the 1992 Constitution. Neither Parliament nor the Attorney General has filed a defense in the form of a statement of case. All three parties have not filed the needed memorandum of issues that they need the court to settle. Now, the Judicial Service issued a statement on the 13th day of September 2024, which gave the above update in respect of the two cases and explained that the parties have not completed the processes they were required to file before the Supreme Court can hear any case. On 1st October 2024, the lawyer for Parliament filed an application asking the court to give permission for Parliament to file its defense, even though they had exceeded the 14 days set by the Supreme Court Rule CI 16. This application will be heard within the first week of the Supreme Court sitting, being the 15th to the 17th of October 2024. The general public is assured that the Supreme Court registry is ready to receive all processes that need to be filed. The Supreme Court is ready to hear every matter where parties have complied with the rules of court directing the processes to be filed before a hearing is held.
So, yes, that is Justice Ellen Ofeaye, the registrar of the Supreme Court, and she doubles as a High Court judge, Justice of the High Court. She has been providing some context there. So the judiciary has been responding. And today, the CJ, in a circular that I have seen, is telling in fact, the whole management of the Judicial Service is urging the staff to remain calm and to be cooperative, because there will be a lot of security deployment in the premises of the court. And the CJ is ready to also
receive the
petition from the.
Yesterday the Arise Ghana Advocates for Christ and Sam George were here in the studio,
sure.
Right? And one of the things that they said is that they want the CJ to state her position.
And that was very difficult to get.
The CJ to state a position.
And
they also want a timetable for how the case is going to be done. Because if they can say they will do presidential petition in 90 days,
that's
the Supreme Court has the power. They said the Supreme Court has the power to be able to determine and make sure that things are expedited.
When cases,
people who have not been able to file their processes, the Supreme Court has the power to act and compel them to do it.
One of the things I have been able to learn over time is that when certain new cases come up, then it creates the opportunity for reform, for changes and other stuff. This issue about LGBTQ+, it is the first time we are seeing it in our court. And so the outcome and then the reaction to it probably creating the opportunity. I remember the very first
but they
election.
are talking about processes, right?
Yes,
they are talking about normal court processes.
The processes
are supposed to
they
be
are
filed.
clear.
And those individuals who are supposed to file those processes have not filed them. The court has the power to compel them to file it.
When the court is dealing with
some of the arguments they are making.
The issue, we have the civil cases and the criminal cases. In respect of criminal cases, court can easily make certain directive and it works, can compel you to do so. But when it has to do with civil matters, the rules are there. And when you sidestep the rules, you'll be seen as doing something that You know what I mean, how sensitive it is. So you have 14 days to file your process, you haven't filed that. The law allows you to come by way of extension of time. And then they have yes, and as we speak,
have they done that?
Parliament filed an application for extension of time on the 1st of October. And then the legal year just resumed. The Supreme Court first sitting will be on next week. And they say that particular motion will be heard next week. So when you have 14 the judiciary, and one thing that they have also learned from the Chief Justice at the last, before the last legal year, remember that when the EC was going ahead with the limited registration, the NDC and some political parties filed an injunction at the Supreme Court. And then there was a whole lot about the fact that the registrar is not fixing date for hearing and all that. One thing that they see is that there is no rule or law that allows justices of the Superior Court, especially the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, to come back from vacation and sit. There's no law. The only law that allows is that when they are going on vacation, the High Court has some vacation court to sit. As for the lower court, they don't even go on vacation. So that is how the law works. So the best way the judiciary can deal with situations like that is the very first time that it is sitting, and next week,
and that'll be on the 15th,
so,
right?
but, the 15th
of October.
So when you are sitting,
and
they said that application will be considered. So when you are sitting behind it, you think that, oh, the judiciary, but they think that there's a process, and the process, who created the process? It's Parliament.
You know, I put this to Sam George and the others yesterday that, well, they've indicated that on the 15th through to the 17th, they are going to hear, and they were adamant. They said, well, if they are going to, it's because they announced that they want a timetable, and because they were planning to do a demonstration. So the court quickly
and the legal year just resumed.
I get the sensitivity of the case that we are talking about, you know, but for instance, asking the Chief Justice to state her position is neither here nor there.
That's why you won't
it does not contribute in any form or shape or manner to the case pending before the court. It doesn't. If she says, okay, I'm anti-LGBT, then
the processes still have to go through.
Precisely.
And it will be dealt with according to law.
Nobody gets up, whether in a civil or a criminal case, to go and tell the court to give me a timetable as to when. It doesn't happen. If you want to compare LGBT case to a presidential petition, then you have a problem, because they are two different things.
So,
and you don't want to be left hanging when there's a presidential petition, when we know we need a president to govern the country, but you want also to expedite action to
you notice that after the first,
the level of importance are not the same.
And they should also expedite action on this, because they have a certain perception that the judiciary is deliberately stalling, you know.
But even if you look at the issue about LGBT, you notice as one of the cases that is being televised.
Yes.
It used to be only election petition.
Yes.
But this case, even
because of the public interest,
you even go to the High Court, and the High Court is hearing LGBT cases, and it's been live on TV in the media. It hasn't happened. But of course, the processes will have to be activated. I'm sure that if all the parties have filed their defense statement of cases, defense, and then the parties themselves, all of them, the plaintiff and then the defendant, have agreed on a joint memorandum of issue, and that is what they have to even agree on for the court to sit on, then investigate the matter and come out with it. All these things have not been done.
Mutala, let's move on, please.
We'll see. They are doing their demonstration today, so we'll bring you a live coverage of that.
Another protest, Democracy Hub.
Yes.
This issue, very, very interesting yesterday when it comes to the High Court. So 32 of them were at the High Court yesterday. There are 53 or 32 were in the High Court yesterday. And out of the 32, 31, I said 32, 22 instead of 22. 21 of them were lucky. They have their bail applications considered.
21 of them.
I'm a governor, Felicity Nelson.
Is the name I'm a governor or I'm a governor?
I'm a governor.
Governor. So that's the nickname.
Yes, that's the name.
No,
but it is part of
it. It is not a nickname.
It's called Ellen
Ababio.
I'm a governor.
Yes. Right?
Yes.
But I think that you know how people put
they like the Ama governor.
I thought the Ama governor was a nickname.
No, I thought as well, but I saw her full name and I noticed that it's part of the name.
That's what I understand.
Yes. But during the court to bar, it is only there as Ellen Ababio Escort. Yes.
No,
so it was difficult for people to even identify her if you don't know her by her name. And there are many people they only know I'm a governor and all that. So 21 were lucky. Oliver Barker, the court said already there's a criminal charge that he's facing, and then he was granted bail in relation to that. And one of the conditions of you having bail is that you will not go out and misconduct yourself. So once he's come back to the court is looking at the situation that when granted bail, it's not about whether he will avail himself as one of the conditions, but when granted bail, would he avail himself? Will he not commit another offense? So the court is saying on the basis of that, he should repeat the application later on. But the court
is not convinced that if they give him bail, he will not commit another offense, because he's already been granted bail on another issue and then he has come to commit another offense.
Yes.
But should it work like that?
No,
That's how it works.
That's what the law says.
Once you are known, you are facing charges, and then you are on bail. One of the criteria is that you don't meddle yourself. You should comport good behavior and all that. So the court is saying that within 72 hours, the circuit court should commence the trial. If that does not happen, the application could be repeated and the bail will be considered. But one of the lawyers have been speaking to us after the sitting yesterday.
Oliver was denied because this offense was committed whilst on bail for another offense. That's how come he was denied. But I'm sure, and the judge directed that the trial should start within 72 hours. If not, we can repeat the application. So if the trial does not start within 72 hours, we repeat this application, and I'm sure it will be granted.
You made a point that you are struggling to locate some of the accused persons. What exactly is that issue about?
Yes, because some of the accused persons, they spread them at different locations, and the police up to now, they don't want to give us the location of those people. So we are still trying to use our links to get exactly where they are. Because one of them, for one, it was only Sunday that we got the exact location. That's route 1. So it's really difficult locating them. That will not affect the court session that much at the circuit court, because going there, we all know that bail has already been granted to the accused persons, so it will be for trial. We have filed separate application for all, so other people will have their day in court after tomorrow.
Yes, so that is one of the defense lawyers, Nelson Noble.
Lawyers for Protest Defense,
Absolutely.
LPD.
Yes,
Lawyers
LPD.
for Protest Defense. So is it that these lawyers came up only when these Democracy Hub protesters were arrested, or they've always been there?
So
it's new.
It's because
It's
of this.
new.
This
Yeah.
particular is
Yeah.
because
So
of
moving
this.
But you know,
forward, are
in
they going
20, the Fix the Country, there was a couple of lawyers as well, but
yes.
they didn't have a name.
Absolutely.
Like
This one
they
yes,
have,
They've given themselves
So-
a name. So is it that moving forward, any demonstration that happens and anything
whereas the
untoward
which question you're asking us, you
happens,
can't
they will
answer.
be there?
No, they
So
will
for
they will
example,
identify.
today
They will
the
identify.
LGBTQ people do demonstrate. Some of them misbehave, or some of them are picked up by the police, and they are believed to.
I'll
They
answer
will.
for you.
They will
Serwaa says she will answer.
defend. They say they are lawyers for protesters.
Defense.
Protest defense.
But
So
Lantam, wait till the thing happens
yeah, I
so
wanna
that
get
we know, because we can't say.
Maybe
Can you answer that?
no. But maybe
Because some
because
of
they
the
are
lawyers-
saying it is protest. So once there's any
Oh,
protest,
you can't
and then
say
you
that.
can't say.
Last
We are getting
year,
to know.
the
protest
Fix the
defense.
Country lawyers, because Oliver was part as
Absolutely.
well. Those who were arrested, some of the lawyers that were present in defending them are not present here today. Yes,
So it
I
will
know that
consider
last year
case by case
they formed
basis.
a platform, a lawyers platform with quite a number of lawyers. Some of the people that were very active then are not active today.
Today, yes.
So you can't really tell.
So
right?
as and when it comes out,
Then again, you never know. Everybody has their interest, as they say.
yeah, but
Look,
my
this
problem was
LGBT
that
one is different. You may have lawyers who are interested in
LGBTQ.
stopping the bill
The
from
bill
being
from
passed.
going-
You understand? So
okay.
they are not likely to join.
It's true.
Yeah, so that is what happened in relation to this matter. But today, it is continuing at the High Court, and the remaining 31 will also have their respective bail applications considered at the High Court today. And guess what? They are also back at the Circuit Court today. In fact, 43 of them are back at the Circuit Court. Ama Governor and 9 others will have to come on the 11th, because that was when the court adjourned the matter to. But Oliver Barker, Felicity Nelson, Ralph Williams, Afo, they will come back to court today. But that will be after the court has dealt with their the High Court has dealt with their bail condition, and later in the afternoon they will be at the Circuit Court. So a lot of situations, a lot of situations will be happening at the court today. One, first at the High Court for bail, then you go to the Circuit Court to go and meet the trial judge in relation to the charges.
So there are a few other cases that are coming up in the courts today.
Yes.
Saglemi housing.
Yes. So the vacation is over, legal year begins, and one of the cases that is coming up today is the Saglemi affordable housing case.
Mutala.
Saglemi.
Carry on.
Affordable housing.
Affordable.
I remember those days when Mills was the president. You remember when he was making that thing? They made a song. They made a song with me.
So we will do a song for you.
So
Saglemi housing.
That one is your term. I just associated myself with it.
You just taught me the term. So I've added it to my vocabulary.
As for Lantam, he knows why he's doing that. So Alaji Collins down that the man who has always been in white, Angel Gabriel, and then some four others.
There's only one man who is noted for always being in white. I mean, Collins Dowda is part, but he's
the former finance minister.
Yes. With a suitcase.
With a suitcase.
Yes. Lantam has been having one of the suitcases. Lantam has a similar one. So anytime he's carrying, I think there's so much dollars.
You know how to emulate Kenneth Ofori-Atta. You know Kenneth Ofori-Atta is a fine gentleman.
Yes, very calm.
God-fearing Christian.
Let's move on, okay? Let's talk about
man. Who would always quote the Bible verses and apply Christianity to everything that he does.
I can see your bag being shown here.
Country. My bag is here. You can bring it on set. I'll show you.
The one that we are showing, yes. It's a very beautiful bag.
Yes.
So when you meet Lantam in town, you can just call him. There are a lot of dollars inside there. So the Saglemi case is... Go on.
This briefcase contains a lot of...
So would it be better to open it on set?
Oh, yeah, we can. There are a lot of dollars. As you can see. See, there are a lot of dollars.
So why you just opening page by page, zip by zip.
You can see some pounds here.
You know what's in the bag?
A lot of dollars. So as you can see, even my wallet is here with a lot of dollars in it. You understand? There is also,
Why should the wallet be in your bag? Why should the wallet be in the bag rather?
Because my dollars are inside.
Please. Is it part of the court situation?
So, Alaji Collins Dowda and then the three others, the contractor in the matter has passed on. So, the four of them are standing trial, and the prosecution is expected to come with a second prosecution witness who will be facing cross-examination from the defense lawyer. So this case is before Justice Ernest Osudapa, and it is the first time in this legal year that the case is coming up today.
All right. So the Bisim murder case as well. The trial of Richard Appiah.
Yes,
right?
Richard Appiah, accused of killing 2 teenagers at Bisim. And that case, you notice that one of the trial was supposed to have commenced in the last legal year. But because the jurors were on strike, it delayed. Today, it is expected to start at the Criminal Court 1. And the gentleman in your shot there is the one that we are talking about.
The one in white?
The one in white, yes.
Handcuffs.
Yes, in handcuffs.
Is it the one that he allegedly killed them and chopped them into pieces?
Chopped the body part into...
Abisim is on the way to Sunyani, right?
Yes,
Abisim is practically in Sunyani.
Yes,
because of the new...
I saw it. Yes. I saw it. I was going to Sunyani about a couple of weeks ago, and my auntie was showing me that this is the place where the man
Abisim.
It's a very calm area.
Yes, it's a very calm chopped area. Them into pieces.
How do you know it's a very calm area?
No, I have been around this place.
I grew up in Sunyani.
Oh, okay.
So
it is a calm place.
It's just like any other neighborhood.
No, it's just that when you are I didn't spend so much or so many days there. I think about 2-3 days, and then but it's a relatively calm place.
Just like any other neighborhood.
During the time of COVID, I was part of the team that were moving around the country.
I see.
With Zoom Lion.
Oh right.
Doing the disinfection and then.
All right.
So I have room small.
No
Rome's
problem.
Yeah, Rome's
Okay, so we'll
fine.
start asking you where you've been. But let's finally talk about GHOne versus Asiedu Nketia.
Yes, so
right?
there's a defamation case in there, and today,
and
Johnson Asiedu Nketia, General Mosquito. So before the general jurisdiction 12, in fact 13, the parties will be in court today for that defamation case from Professor GHOne. He's suing the General Mosquito, the national chairman of the NDC. At the time, he was the general secretary of the NDC, for certain comments that he's made against him, and that has become a subject of defamation. Today, the court is expecting that General Mosquito will come and open his defense in relation to that. So these are some of the cases that came. And yesterday, the bench bank case, the case which is characterized so many witnesses, also was up there. We'll bring you all details in our subsequent bulletins and editions.
Thank you very much, Mutlai Nusa, for bringing us these updates. God willing, we'll meet again tomorrow for updates on what transpired in court today. And that'll be it. Stay with us. After the break, our guests are already in the studio. We'll get into the conversation.
Yes,
here.
and let me remind you once again that what I'm wearing is by the authentic man. And so, like I'll always say, if you need a nice suit, contact Authentic. Yes, because he's making me an authentic man. Give him a call and you'd be able to get a suit for whatever occasion it is that you want. Call Authentic Man on 0243 029494 0243 029494 and get yourself a very nice and authentic suit. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
GHOne OV van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on Dante, to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rollis' state funeral, Emmys Africa Awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GHOne van has been the state of the art equipment they have. Personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GHOne provides it.
My experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. You know, the van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew, ICCU, switcher, graphics, CG, and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter who's in that studio as well and get that running.
To give an experience to our audience, we're also watching on TVs and online with an Exo technology system, which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts.
I prefer the GHOne van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup, because on a production you see a number of people in the van, and so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked, and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets, and so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the truck and do business with it.
It looks huge, but very affordable. Cost is really, really affordable. My experience with it, EMI Awards last year, super excellent. Try it, call them, and I'm going to give you the best of price. Really affordable.
Welcome back to the show. You're watching GH Today here on GHOne TV. It's time for the breakfast review. My guests are in the studio and we'll get into the issues. Quite a lot to talk about. So, organized labor say that they will still go on strike on the 10th. Today is actually the 8th of October. And so, in the next 2 days, we'll see a strike from organized labor. And they want to go on strike because they want the government, at the end of the day, to heed to certain demands as far as the Galamsey fight is concerned. They want a state of emergency declared, a ban on all small-scale mining activities, and they want the repeal of the LI, which allows certain companies to go into forest reserves and mine, among other things. Even though organized labor met government, and the president spoke to them, they still decided that they want to go on strike, and they remain resolute. The government, has expressed some surprise as to why organized labor still want to go on with their strike, because at a meeting there were certain resolutions that all of them agreed to. It's interesting, and we'll get into a conversation on that this morning here on the show. And also, the Ghana National Association of Teachers recently has been complaining about the free senior high school policy. They say there is a lot of overcrowding in the classrooms. And there is also overcrowding in some of the dormitories. As Ghana celebrates teachers, obviously they decided to take the opportunity to talk about some of these things. Thankfully, the man who speaks for the Ministry of Education is here in the studio, and so he'll be able to speak to some of these issues. And there is a big demonstration today as well. I'm sure you know by now that those who are in support of the Family Values Bill, or Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, which is currently a very sensitive issue. A lot of people have gone to court on it, or should I say 2 people have gone to court on it. And so the Supreme Court has certain decisions to make as far as that is concerned. And those who are protesting today believe that there is a deliberate attempt to stall the entire process so that the president doesn't assent to the bill. And so they want expedited action. So because of that, they are going on a protest today. They are protesting against the Chief Justice and President Akufo-Addo over inaction over the, as a lot of people call it, anti-gay bill. So these are some of the issues that you can expect us to get into this morning here on the show. My guests in the studio today, Mr. Kwame Jantua is here. He's a member of the Convention People's Party. He's a private legal practitioner as well. And Mr. Jantua, good morning to you.
Morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm breathing. I'm fine. If I weren't breathing, there was something, but I'm breathing. It's fine. If we see things that we don't want to act on.
Yeah, the way you say I'm breathing, I'm fine. It's like there's a lot that you want to say, but I don't want to talk. So I'm breathing, I'm fine.
I don't understand what is going on.
What is going on?
Oh, this Galamsey issue. I don't understand it. Right now, I'm not sure whether you listened to Joy FM over the weekend, where this, what's her name? She's an engineer in waste and all that, where she indicated that they've started seeing heavy metals in our yams for export. We are sitting, no, it's okay, it's fine. Oh, people need to work and make money.
But some action is being taken, is it?
Which of the actions?
Some action is being taken by the government.
Which of the actions?
To deal with Galamsey.
What action is being taken now as we sit? And behind the police station, police are eager to arrest demonstrators. They're not eager to arrest people who are doing illegal acts. Let's go ahead.
I'm pretty sure some of the things that government is doing will
be
said
ahead.
here today.
8 years.
Let me not take the weight out
you haven't been able to do
sales.
anything. 3 years to your what you call something.
We'll come to it. It's actually the first issue that we're talking about. But thank you very much, Mr. Jantua, for joining us in the studio. Also here in the studio this morning is Hamza Suhini. He's also a private legal practitioner. He's a member of the National Democratic Congress. Good morning, Council.
Good morning, Lantam.
How are we?
Well, like he indicated, we are all surviving, especially under this regime. What can one do except to try and survive on a daily basis, hoping that come 7th December, we all gather to do the needful, to see how we can once again reset this country and put it back on a transformational journey of recovery.
But if you're surviving, it's a good thing, isn't it? To be able to survive.
I want to survive. Right? I want to feel comfortable. I want to feel okay. And I believe that many Ghanaians out there are not looking just to survive. They are also aspiring to be comfortable. They want to be able to meet their daily challenges with ease and be able to contribute their meaningful quota as far as the development of this country is concerned. But unfortunately, we are living under a regime that it is almost impossible for you to do what you want to do, and in some cases, even to contribute meaningfully to national discourse and development. So yes, one can only hope to continue to survive until the 7th of December, 2024.
So if after the 7th of December, it's Dr. Bawumia who is president, will you continue surviving?
There are no ifs in this election. And I have made that point on several other yes, there are no ifs.
It's always an if, because we don't know how the people of Ghana are going to decide.
There are no ifs in this election. I trust the judgment of the good people of this country. And I have always maintained that it should be in the interest of every well-meaning Ghanaian who means well for this country that the National Democratic Congress and its flag bearer is declared president. Because you see, Ghanaians have endured this reckless leadership, this wicked leadership, this insensitive government for the last 8 years, hoping that there will be a turnaround with a new regime come 7th December 2024. Anything short of that will have dire consequences for this country. And I'm pretty much convinced that we will not get to that stage. And that is why I'm telling you that in this election, there are no ifs or buts. There's certain change that is coming into effect, and that change definitely will be driven by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and that of the National Democratic
You're pretty confident of that. You're
pretty much confident because I trust the good people.
At the end of the day, the people of Ghana will decide.
That is why I started by telling you that I trust the judgment of the good people of this country. And the judgment is on our rules. That expression of interest in having the NDC come back, it can be felt in our markets.
You see the way
it can be felt in our senior high schools.
He doesn't agree.
Of course.
He doesn't agree.
He's entitled to that.
Kwesi Kwarteng is here as well. He is head of Public Relations at the Ministry of Education, of course, a member of the New Patriotic Party. Good morning.
Good morning. I mean, I like to be a bit modest, so I speak for the Ministry of Education. Very well. So, I mean, Lantam, for me...
But you're a Ghanaian?
Yeah, sure, whichever. I'm a Ghanaian. I'm also doing well.
Yes, you expected.
Obviously, I'll do well because we are not where we have to be, but definitely we are also not where we used to be. Those era where, I mean, by now we wouldn't have had the opportunity to be sitting in your studio because of doing so much. I don't want to start on that trajectory because I wanted to just take a quick bite on what Council said.
Yes.
Particularly when he made references to the fact that, I mean, there are commentaries on and researches pointing to the fact that this time the yams that we are consuming are full of heavy chemicals and what have you. I believe that is a legitimate concern because you never know which yam you are eating and where you are even buying from. And I've always maintained that irrespective of which market you procure or get your yam from, at the end of the day, it's not going to ask you whether you are NPP or NDC. So yes, we agree on principle that the impact of, I mean, activities that has negative implications on our environment should be something that we have to look at. But I don't want us to narrow it down necessarily to Galamsey, particularly where if we do that, we may be mixing the point ultimately. Why am I bringing that leg of the conversation? Because, for instance, if you look at heavy elements, we may have to be looking at, first of all, the source that some of these elements are coming from. I lived in Tamale, UDS to be precise, did my first degree there, and I know that predominantly the northern part of Ghana are where they grow these yams. It will interest you to know that if you go to northern Ghana, you may not even find a Galamsey side there. So it will be very simplistic for us to sit on TV and create a correlation between, for instance, Galamsey activities and the fact that maybe we may have the presence of heavy chemicals or heavy metals in foodstuffs, particularly yam. So yes, the conversation.
But is there no linkage? Because is there no linkage there?
No,
because I think the argument is that when we try to use all of these heavy metals to mine the gold, they seep deep into the soil. When they seep deep into the soil, I've even heard people say that it even affects those who use boreholes, because you may say, oh, well, as for me, I'll use a borehole. But when the chemicals are going into the land, it's seeping through all of these, water table, all of those things.
If I was allowed to
when you plant, the possibility of these chemicals getting into the foodstuffs, especially the tubers.
So if I was allowed to land, yes. If I was allowed to land, that's why I'm saying that we don't necessarily have to be sentimental about it. I mean, these days, you have to support it with a bit of scientific evidence, because if you are not very careful, you may just be speculative, and we admit that on the face value, Galamsey is a menace that we all have to confront. We admit that ultimately leadership has to take responsibility. But when we garnish the whole conversation with sentimental inputs that are not factually based, that's why I made reference that, for instance, if you go to the yam market, a lot of these yams are coming from predominantly the northern part of our country. I lived in Tamale, for instance, where they grew yam, and in Tamale they don't do any Galamsey there. So for you to establish any correlation between yam being infested with, for instance, heavy chemicals, it may not necessarily be so, and may not necessarily be scientifically based. For instance, I have heard commentaries that children that are being newborn babies,
yes,
a lot of them are not having sex organs, a lot of them are not having limbs.
In some of the mining areas, some of them are being born with birth defects. That's what is being reported.
That's what I'm saying, that it will be very simplistic for us to sit here and pretend that we know more than the technical experts. You may have to go beyond the speculative and a bit of the speculative point of conversation, where we believe that because this is happening, it obviously is coming from here. The question we have to ask ourselves is that, for instance, if you go to the mechanic industry, our brothers who have been helping us to fix our cars, in the first place, where have they been disposing the car batteries, the content of the car batteries that they remove from our cars? In terms of the electronic waste, e-waste, and whatever that we import in this country, where have been the disposal point? So we have to be looking at it and broaden the conversation broadly, particularly if we want to have conversations on heavy metals being in our food. But if you narrow it down to, for instance, Galamsey alone, which I admit on principle that is a bad thing, you may be missing where the problem is really coming from. So unless, of course, we're able to establish with empirical data or evidence that this is the source of the heavy chemicals in our yams, in our water bodies, in the drinking water that we have, in our vegetables. Because in Accra here, we don't do Galamsey here, largely. But I have read a research where the vegetables that we eat every day are infested with heavy metals. So yes, the Galamsey should be decoupled from this conversation. I agree.
But I think there may be a linkage there. And of course, you mentioned that in Tamale. I mean, they may not be mining in Tamale per se, but there are Galamsey sites in the northern part of the country.
No, you see, we are looking at...
There are Galamsey sites in some of these areas. I mean, it will surprise you. You go to the north and there are people there who are actually doing Galamsey, and that's documented.
What about Accra? So, you see, we are looking at a more closest or proximal argument that is logically consistent to the claim that we are making, particularly when the claim that we are making is not evidentially based and is not scientifically anchored. But you see, if that is the argument that we are advancing, would it be more probable to suggest that in, for instance, Greater Accra, where no Galamsey is happening, if we find a heavy metal in the vegetables that we are eating, would it be more probable to suggest that there's occasion by the fact that people are doing Galamsey in Western reading? Clearly, logically, it's not consistent.
So you think there's a lot of sensationalism as far as, commentary like that is concerned? When people say that babies are being born deformed, in the Galamsey area, some of these areas where Galamsey is prone, and
in Accra, people are born
because of the drinking water that is laced with heavy chemicals. And mind you, some of them have been tested, and you find elements of some of these heavy chemicals in it. And the water that they drink, sometimes the normal alum that they would usually use to purify the water is not even adequate. And so now some of them are resorting to using other forms of chemicals to actually purify the water to drink in some of these areas, because they don't have access even to potable drinking water, among other. These are realities. These are realities. These are realities on the ground.
These are not realities.
I'm saying they are realities on the ground because, for example, here at our media house, right, one of my colleagues, she's one of our deputy news editors, on her own went to the central region, some of the areas where Galamsey is being done, and went to do a report from there, and then brought us some of these stories. And I mean, if you are minded, we could even play back the feature for you. It's about 10 minutes long, right, of the effects of the galamsey on the water that the people in those areas are drinking. Prior to the galamsey becoming such an albatross on our neck, they had clear drinking water and they could just fetch the water, boil it, and then drink it. Now they have to use different kinds of chemicals to try and even purify the water, because heating it alone seemingly is not even enough. These are realities.
No, you see,
these are realities.
You see, there could be realities, all right, but there could be unfounded realities. We also have to admit that leg of the conversation. For instance,
but it's a galamsey that is polluting the water.
No, in Accra here, we don't do galamsey here. It interests you to know that waters are polluted here.
Because the source of the water which flows through the taps are polluted by galamsey activities.
I do not worry with the Ghana Water Company Limited. But I know that. I'm coming.
Have talked about the turbidity levels of the water.
When you ask questions, can I offer an opinion or an answer to it?
Yes.
I am saying that when you look at water turbidity level in terms of water purification, what have you, I'm not an expert, but I'm saying that a lot of variables goes into whether or not water is contaminated. We cannot sit here and just be speculative that because, for instance, Western region, they are doing mining or illegal mining activities, when water production, for instance, is impure in northern region, there is a correlation. For that matter, galamsey is the one causing that. Yes, I agree on principle that the galamsey activity is something that is illegal, particularly being the fact that they are mining in water bodies. But we should not overly be sentimental and particularly be speculative, particularly when some of these commentaries are not anchored on scientific researches. Other than that, we may sit here and speculate and be missing the main point or the main source that is causing that. So if the water is contaminated, have we been able to trace the source? If a journalist gives one commentaries and give voiceovers over supposed water that is contaminated, is it scientifically based? I am not saying that there cannot be any correlation. But for instance, if you look at mercury is a heavy metal, all right. But on the face value, we all know that mercury, for instance, is waterphobic. It settles under the water and may be found within the sediment. That's how come they're able to use mercury to be able to extract the gold. So there is no way, for instance, where mercury, which is an insoluble element, can dissolve in water. So if we sit here, for instance, and lay claim that because galamseyers are using mercury, and for that matter, if let's say water is contaminated, which has not even been tested on any ground, which has not been scientifically proven, and we sit here and conclude that because we feel that water has been contaminated, then it's occasioned by galamseyers activities. That's why I'm saying that we have to be a bit slow in creating that hasty conclusion. I am not in any way promoting galamsey or illegal activities. I know that ultimately there can be that correlation. But for instance, if you pick yam coming from the northern region, if you pick vegetables coming from, for instance, Greater Accra region, if you pick any item, foodstuffs coming from other places where there are no galamsey activities, and you want us to believe and just box all into one holistic conversation and then run a commentary and make it look like galamsey is the one causing that, well, we may achieve what we want, particularly even if the ultimate intent is to compel government, for instance, to even ban the whole mining activity. But in terms of the rest of the problem, at the end of the day, we'll be mixing it.
But journalists have gone to some of these areas where galamsey has polluted water bodies. Some of them, I think, the journalist of the year for last year, Erastus Asoredonko, who has been very heavy, on this, took water samples from some of the rivers, had them lab tested, and some of the results came out with some of these heavy metals in them, right? And there is a direct correlation between the turbidity levels of the waters that we are seeing of the river Pra and the Tano and all. There is a direct correlation. It is not for any reason that the Ghana Water Company Limited talked about the turbidity levels of the water, which is hovering at around 14,000 NTU, when under normal circumstances it's not even supposed to go beyond 2,000 NTU. That is a direct correlation between galamsey and the state of our waters. In
which region? Was it not central region?
Yes.
Which areas? You see, I have never disputed the fact that there could be a correlation. But I'm saying that in as much as we are trying to establish that link, we should not necessarily be overly sentimental so that we may not just be restricted and prevent ourselves from investigating other sources. Right. I asked the question that our mechanics, when they remove our batteries, where do they dispose them? I asked the question that the electronic waste that comes into this country, where do we dispose them? So we have had a systemic challenge when it comes to all those things. But the point is that maybe the galamsey has opened up the conversation when it comes to all these things coming into play, where we don't necessarily have to narrow it down to galamsey. I'm not saying that galamsey could not be an effect. We agree. That, I mean, even the fact that they are even washing in the river bodies is a non-starter in the first place. But I am telling all of us that beyond the galamsey, we cannot necessarily sit on TV and create a conclusive link without looking at other sources of heavy metals that probably may be present.
So you want there to be more scientific testing to establish some of these things before you can conclusively.
What I'm saying is that in this conversation, if we become overly sentimental about it, we may be missing some of the major challenges where the sources are coming from.
Right.
Again, beyond being overly sentimental, it should be situated in that right perspective or that right context, so that we do not box everything into galamsey and mix the other potential sources that could be causing some of these problems that we are having.
Yes, Mr. Johnson.
You stopped me when I was giving.
No, we are into the conversation.
That was an introduction he was giving.
Yeah, but
he's talked.
We've dovetailed into the conversation.
He
was asking me questions.
We've dovetailed into the conversation.
You didn't give me the time to explain what I meant, and he is saying it's sensationalism. It is not sensationalism. Let me read what I was telling you, and this is from what I heard on Saturday. So I went to find the printed version of it, and this is what it says. A US-based licensed environmental engineer, Dr. Juliet Oheming Ntiamwa, has raised an alarming concern about how galamsey's harmful consequences are reaching the diaspora, especially through food exports. Speaking on GHOne News File on October 5th, 2024, Dr. Oheming Ntiamwa, who specializes in bioenergy and wastewater process engineering, shared her insights on how the activities of illegal miners are impacting not only those living in Ghana, but also those abroad who still consume Ghanaian products. She disclosed a disturbing conversation with a colleague at the Ghana Standards Authority. I was talking to a friend who works at Ghana Standards Board recently, and she told me that they tested yams being exported and they had high levels of heavy metals. She explained, this is a call to those in the diaspora who think that galamsey is only happening in Ghana. The effects of galamsey are coming to our doorsteps, even
the source of the heavy metal. That's important. The source, you should have added it.
Wait. Let's even say, let's take the chemicals out. Let's go by what Mr. Kwatin is saying.
No, I think the point that he's trying to make is that even though there are heavy metals in the foods, we cannot conclusively tell whether it's because of galamsey or it's because of other things. I think that's the point that he was trying to make.
Whatever the case is, if there's chemicals in the water, there's chemicals in the water. So I'm saying, let's even take his argument and put that aside. Can we drink mud water? Can we drink mud water? Look at the water. I went to Cape Coast last week for the Petroleum Commission's local content conference. I passed the pra. The whole thing is what? Brown. Can we drink it? So let's say there are no chemicals in it. Let's say we are able to pinpoint where the chemicals are. Can we drink mud water? That is the question. How galamsey has impacted on our water bodies. And you see, water, it moves anywhere, anyway. Anywhere, anyway, it moves. And if it's muddy, how do you drink it? I saw a woman standing by the Pra River. It looked as if she was trying to decide whether to collect the water or not to collect the water. We heard in the Western region where women wait for the water to settle and use alum, and even that, it doesn't work. Let's go ahead and play politics with this thing. Let's go ahead and not actually make sure that where the effect is, and we deal with it. Let's go ahead and do that. Yams, aren't they grown in the Bunu area? Isn't that where most of the yams are grown? Is there not galamsey in that area?
The north and some parts of the northern
Is there not galamsey in that area? I don't understand why we're trying to find excuses, because this particular issue is killing Ghana, the country Ghana. Currently, the only place where you have safe water is the Volta River. Currently, have we not started seeing what do you call it, browning in the Weja Dam? Have you not seen? Have you flown over going to Takrady? The Pra, is it the Pra or the Tano, entering the sea with brown water? Have you seen it? Are there fishes in these water bodies that have turned brown? You take the chemicals out. In this one, are there fishes in there? So let's talk. Let's say that a sensation we are creating. It's not sensation. It is happening in real life, in real time. It is happening, and we should collectively, as a country, work together to make sure that we handle this thing. Otherwise, if we play politics the way we are playing politics,
well, organized labor said that they are still going to go on strike, and government has expressed surprise. There's a statement from the Honorable Fatima Abubakar, who is Minister for Information. This statement came out yesterday, and they highlight a few points. They say government will collaborate with organized labor and other stakeholders in fighting illegal mining. Government will take steps when Parliament reconvenes this month to revoke the Environmental Protection Regulation 2023, that's LI 2462, talking about mining in forest reserves. They say government will ramp up its efforts, its enforcement measures, particularly as it relates to prohibiting illegal mining in water bodies and forest reserves. Water bodies and forest reserves remain red zones for mining and all forms of mining in water bodies, as well as reconnaissance, prospecting, exploration, and or small-scale mining in forest reserves remain banned. Law enforcement agencies of the state are fully mandated to raid our water bodies and forest reserves of all forms of mining. The Attorney General will collaborate with the Chief Justice to ensure swift adjudication of illegal mining cases, and government supports the call for all presidential candidates to sign a pact committing to the fight against illegal mining so as to depoliticize this national problem. In light of the above, government is surprised by the decision of organized labor to proceed on an industrial action from the 10th of October. Government will, however, continue to engage organized labor and other stakeholders in a constructive dialogue in finding solutions to this national menace. And they go on further to say that government reiterates its commitment to the fight against illegal small-scale mining. Council, they have met organized labor. They've made certain positions clear to the president. The president said it should be given time, and we are taking A, B, C, D steps. And so, we are dealing with the Galamsey problem. But organized labor says, no, we still want to go on the strike.
I think, Lantam, first of all, even listening to my brother, who speaks for the government and also the Minister of Education, you can appreciate that this government lacks the commitment as far as the fight against illegal mining is concerned. And indeed, they have even taken the engagement a bit higher by now questioning the authority of experts, like my senior has indicated, in terms of the effects of Galamsey on the people of this country. I think that should not be in doubt. We all know that this is one menace that causes an existential threat to not only our environment, but to livelihoods as well. And so we do not need experts to update us in terms of the havoc this is causing. We live it. And I am surprised that my brother is attempting to belittle the effects of Galamsey by simply trying to hide under the cover of expertise. I think we've gone past that. Even leading members of his own party agree that this country is suffering as a result of that. And so we should...
But I think he also agrees to that.
I doubt, because he is now questioning that what is the basis in concluding that the pollution we are making references to actually comes from illegal mining, when it could actually also be coming from the way we dispose of batteries and stuff like that. So,
but that's a fair point, is it not?
It is, but you see, the point is that we are talking about illegal mining and the effects of illegal mining. We are not talking about waste disposal when it comes to lithium batteries. That is not the essence of the discussion. Is he trying to conclude that the water bodies we see, the milky nature of those water bodies, is occasioned by the disposal of batteries? Come on. It should be clear to all of us. So don't try to
but the presence of heavy chemicals in foodstuffs, that we talk about.
You see, but that is what we are saying. Before the menace got to this level, we hardly recorded incidents of that nature. But we've always had issues with disposal of our waste as a country. And so if we are beginning to record some of these things, we should be worried. and not try to belittle the discourse. But you see, without wasting so much time on that, because I understand, I know that Ghanaians appreciate the enormity of the challenge that we are being faced with as far as the illegal mining is concerned. But you see, my brother, organized labor, I have said on several other platforms that in as much as we can commend organized labor for attempting to put this government on its toes, starting from the decision of organized labor to declare a strike action, I think 2 or 3 months ago, when the government decided to sell off certain hotels that belong to SNIT to one of their own, an appointee and a sitting minister of this current regime. I think organized labor rose up to the challenge and succeeded in halting that unethical attempt by the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led regime to more or less share the assets of this country amongst themselves. But you see, when it comes to the issues of Galamsey, in as much as I commend them for their commitment to the fight, I think that the objective of the declaration of the strike action needs to be looked at. It is not about getting the government to fight Galamsey. We all know that this government is not willing to fight Galamsey. I am of the view that organized labor should have taken it a bit higher. They should simply demand a vote of no confidence in the leadership of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia and that of the New Patriotic Party as a political party. And I think that their point of call or direction of their anger should be to present such a petition to the parliament of this country. You see, why are we pretending that we do not know the source of the heightened level in Galamsey activities? Galamsey has been with us since independence and even predates independence. Mm-hmm. But you and I know that the levels we're experiencing today, we never experienced it in the past. And so to understand why we are where we are, one needs to look at the mentality of this particular government. When Nana Addo assumed office and decided to declare that he was going to put his presidency on the line in the fight against Galamsey, he got the support of the good people of this country. What happened afterwards? At the end of the day, it became a ruse for appointees of this same regime to enrich themselves.
But some concrete steps were taken then.
You see,
there was a moratorium on mining activities.
I am not saying that concrete things. Well, see, but you need to understand the way this government works.
Community mining schemes.
When the NPP wants to either steal state resources or abuse the power that is given to them, what they first do is to throw crumbs the way of the Ghanaian people. So whilst we are concentrating on that, they unveil an elaborate strategy to capture the state. And I'll give you examples. When they assumed power, the first issue they spoke about had to do with privatization of ECG and why it was important for us to privatize ECG to ensure efficiency. But you and I know that in no time, the real objective behind that privatization was exposed because of the internal bickering, largely influenced by the greed and how they decided to share that state asset amongst themselves.
I mean, but it's the same energy minister
of
this government who came out and exposed the PDS.
No, it is not accurate. It is not accurate. We started raising the alarm bells. It is not accurate. It is not the same.
Remember the minister?
No, it is not.
Energy then said
it is not. You see, Lantam, it is not the energy minister. But that is just an example. Again, in the Kroll Associates issue, this same regime indicated that they were going to investigate corrupt practices of former state officials. At the end of the day, we woke up to the horrifying reality that the senior minister, Osafo Mafo, actually succeeded in securing more than $1 million that could not be accounted for, of which the Auditor General then, Daniel Domolevo, decided to surcharge him. What did we see? He was hounded out of office. So when these guys come to you with a proposal that they are trying to pursue your objectives, what you should be focusing on is what they seek to benefit. And so when Nana Addo decided to declare that he was going to put his presidency on the line, some of us knew from the word go that it was once again an attempt by the Nanado administration to enrich his appointees and himself. You see, people are talking about the legalization of mining in our forest reserves. Not under President Kufuor, not under President Mios, and definitely not under President John Dramani Mahama was that done. Because we understood that there was the need for us to protect the biodiversity of this country, including our forest reserves. And we also understood that in a way it is tied to the kind of economic fortunes of this country. You know that even when it comes to access to donor funds, most donor funds are tied to sustainability measures of the country. So if indeed you are complaining about your economic woes and you are engaged in domestic and external debt restructuring, and yet still you are pursuing policies by going to legalize mining in forest reserves that has the potential of affecting even donor funds into your country, it should occur to you that what you are simply doing is engaging in an act that will affect the economic fortunes of this country. And we've made that point pretty much clear. And so, Lantam, understand Nanado. We should not expect this government to fight the Galamsey problem. It cannot fight it. How do you fight a system where you have more than 50% of appointees actually actively engaged? Today, the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the ruling government is a known Galamsey operative. There is the Kumasi
but he's also known to be a small scale. I mean, he's also known to have a licensed mining
that's
company.
The misconception.
He's
what
also
happens
known to have a licensed
is that, you see, my brother, you see, the point is that small scale mining and large scale mining are legal activities. We are talking about Galamsey. And what it simply means is that someone can actually have license to mine as a small scale miner. And where he is allocated to mine, the person may decide to move away to a different zone where he doesn't have the permits to mine. In that case, irrespective of the fact that the person has access to a license, that person is engaged in illegal mining. And that is what is happening under this government. You have heard the Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, a man who is paid by the taxpayers' money, our meager resources, openly declare that we are not going to do anything about Galamsey, and that the people should continue. And the Vice President and flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party was on that stage, nodding and clapping for such a Deputy Minister of State. Again, you heard one of their own, a sitting member of Parliament, declare that if we are bold, we should attempt to bring the demonstrations to Ashanti region where illegal mining is going on and not Greater Accra, daring the good people of this country for simply rising up to this unhealthy practice. So it should be clear to you that this government is not going to do anything. Now, reading the Minister of Information statement, organized labor made 3 specific demands. First, withdrawal of LI 2462.
Which the government says they will do?
Yes, like I indicated. In the first place, there was no need for the government to introduce it, because it was never introduced under John Mahama. And that's why I told you that when this government purports to be fighting a cause for the good people of the country, look beyond it. You will begin to appreciate that it is for their interest. At the same time, they banned small-scale mining. That was the same time the government was busy working on the LI to allow mining in our forest reserves. And indeed, the day the law was passed was the same day the company of Sampine, the mayor of Kumasi today, started his mining activities. And so organized labor needs to understand, in as much as I understand their challenge and the objective. They want the president to withdraw the LI. They also want the president to declare a state of emergency in terms of the fight against illegal mining. They want to see concrete steps being taken. Reading the Minister of Information statement, you would agree with me that apart from the declaration that they will withdraw LI 2462, there is no indication that the government will declare a state of emergency. And if you listened to Mr. AC yesterday, the Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission, it should be clear to you that this government lacks the commitment, because even he indicated that when they report to the police, there seemed to be no commitment
So the
in the
enforcement
police
is a
service.
problem.
Yes, so there seems to be no commitment on the part of the police
I'll come back
service
to you on this.
in terms of fighting the menace. So let's forget it. My brother, no, but let me land on this note. I beg you, please. It's important. It's important. It's important. It's important. It's important. Let me land on this note. Please.
Because everybody needs to
I'll land under a minute. Under a minute.
I'm watching the time.
You see, the only way to resolve this threat is not the way we are going. The only way to put this government in check and to ensure that we reverse this troubling trend is to boot them out. That is the only language you understand. Of course, and bring back His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who has demonstrated that track record.
Okay.
His Excellency President Mahama never legalized mining.
The man who was investigated under by his own president.
And cleared by your own special prosecutor.
I'll come back to you. Mr. Jantua, let me bring you now. Do you support organized labor's stance and intended industrial action?
Lantam, you know what makes me sad? What's the population of Ghana?
About 33 million.
30 million, 33 million. If any other country, let's take a country like Singapore, had these three commodities, they won't go for anywhere for a loan. We have gold, we have oil, we have cocoa. Three, just these three alone. Do you know what it can do to a country like Ghana? And unfortunately, we haven't been able to structure these three commodities to the benefit of our country. Hasn't cocoa brought Ghana money all the time? Hasn't oil brought money to Ghana all the time? Hasn't gold brought money to Ghana all the time? Aren't they strategic resources that we should have really concentrated on? And I thought when the MPP came in 2016, 2017, that was exactly what they were going to do from what was told us. Did it happen? Did it happen? So let me ask, if organized labor did not step into this fight, will the president listen to us? Has the president listened to all the demonstrations that have been going on? Isn't it till organized labor stepped in that he's felt he needs to do something? True or false? True or false? All the other demonstrations that have gone on, has he uttered the word? And he finds it easy to have an interview with a foreign journalist, but not our own. Finds it easy. Did he not? Did he not? Has he spoken to the people of Ghana? Has the president spoken to the people of Ghana?
Oh, but through that interview, I think he has.
I don't want through that interview. He's a president. He's my president for this country.
Does it matter, the medium?
It matters. It matters. He was able to come to our houses on 4th August to tell us why Dankwa is part of the founders of this country. What didn't he? That and what is happening today, which is more important? Tell me, which is more important? Something that is killing this country is not important. He will not comment about it. You wait till last minute, till labor threaten a strike. You are now bringing what? Directives. These directives that the Minister of Information has outlined, couldn't they have done it earlier?
But he had already set up a 5-member committee.
What 5-member
committee?
They have set up.
Minister,
wait.
You know,
don't go there. Don't go there.
The effectiveness of government's fight against.
Don't go. Have you heard from them?
They've met organized labor.
He said it isn't a question of meeting organized labor. It's a question of that committee attacking Galamsey head on. That is what the question
but there's
is.
Also
not organized labor.
That has been given to security agencies to get people mining off the water bodies.
What has happened?
You know,
what
arrest them and deal with them.
Let me tell you something. When President Akufo-Addo came and put his presidency on the line, which I think he didn't understand that statement he was making, or he either understood it, but he was taking us for fools. When you tell me that you're putting something on the line, I'm putting my integrity on the line, and I go against it, would you respect me again? Will you? So what did he mean by that? So he said he's putting his presidency on the line. He tried to put certain measures in place. Did it work? What was the end result of it? What was the end result of it? And he tends to forget that his albatross is Galamsey. His albatross would do what? The legacy he would leave, Galamsey would overshadow anything he's done. But he doesn't seem to think that it is important. When you have people in your own party being in Galamsey, and you're quiet, you're silent, why is he benefiting from it too? I need to find out. Is the president benefiting from Galamsey that he can't work? He took an oath to Ghanaians, didn't he? When he came in 2016, 2020, he took an oath to protect the integrity of this country. Would you say he's protecting the integrity of this country? And I pinpoint the president because he's the leader. He's the leader. He should have, when he even wasn't prepared to move, and he saw Otumfuo do what he's done, that should have triggered him to say, Jack, something should be done. This Galamsey thing can't be done by one political party, nor done by one leader. It's a collective fight. And that collective fight should be led by the president. Forget all the partisanship. Forget all the politics. Put everybody together and say, we are fighting this thing together as a country. Has he been able to do it as a leader? That is where my problem is with him. Has he been able to do it as a leader? That is why we voted you in power. They've now come back to the people, haven't they? To ask for the people's vote. Haven't they? And then Vice President Bamia will tell you he's a mate. So whatever the president decides to do, he can't say anything in it, forgetting that he's a team and part of the team. To be vice president and to have a president and to have cabinet is teamwork. It's teamwork. Not unless the president is so stubborn that he will not listen to other members of the team. And I'd like to think President Akufo-Addo is not stubborn. Otherwise, if you look at the trajectory of things he's acted on, he's always waited till the last minute. Why? When we were shouting, January 2022, go to IMO, did he mind us? He didn't. When we were shouting, the president is spending money on private jets. Did he stop? He didn't.
Oh, he's not traveling.
So please stop that. The money has already been spent. The money we could use for that has already been spent. The commitment I want from flag bearers is that we will listen to the people who put us there. It looks as if, especially MPP people, it looks as if they are scared to say anything to the president. It looks as if they can't tell him, Jack, you are going wrong here. It looks as if, because everybody is quiet within the MPP, and they would defend the fact that because there are other people in small-scale mining, it will affect them. We are in a crisis, and at the point of a crisis, everything is put aside. Are we not at war? Are we not at war? Where our water bodies are concerned, and let's divide it. Yes, Galamsey has been here, but mostly Galamsey was being done on land. Today, Galamsey is being done on water bodies. Why was it that the president agreed for LI 2462 to be passed? Why? Do you know the quantum of trees that have lasted this country for years? Do you know the quantum of those trees that have been cut down today? And we sit and we are watching and we don't think it's important. Look, let me tell you some of the effects of Galamsey. And you know some of them. Biodiversity losses and ecological damage, including destruction of our habitats, ecosystems, and irreplaceable losses of flora and fauna. Environmental degradation, including deforestation, water contamination, pollution, soil contamination, degradation. Community displacement and reduction in agricultural productivity as Galamseyers encroach on agricultural lands and settlements. Loss of agricultural lands as Galamsey has led to the destruction of fertile lands, threatening food security. Negative impact on tourism. Galamsey has severely affected Ghana's tourism industry as polluted water bodies and degraded landscapes deter visitors. Is this not true? Is it not true? And we sit, and the president can collectively put us together to fight this thing together. He can't do that. Because what? He tells us in the last general election, they lost how many constituencies? Was it 10 or 19?
We didn't lose Kashmir.
Yes, we did 10 or 19. That they lost that. So because of that, you hear MPP commentators say, we are not going to fight this thing till after the election. Just because of what? And the country is dying. So I don't understand the kind of leadership President Akufo-Addo wants to put us through where Galamsey is concerned. And he should come again. Organized labor should go ahead with the strike. They should go ahead with the strike. And if possible, everybody should join.
All right.
Because this is killing our country.
Okay. Kwesi Kwate, I'll come to you finally on this issue.
Well,
Organized labor, government, they are making demands, but it looks as though the government is looking to meet just one of the demands that they are making.
Well, for me, I would take it from the very broader perspective. In the conversation where the other party reserves the right to make his claims, but does not want to extend the same courtesies on you, particularly when the conversation, if you ask me, no matter how genuine it is, has been garnished with a lot of sentiments, it becomes very difficult for you to have that conversation, particularly when you have a holistic view of addressing the concerns that has been raised. And for me, I would say that this whole Galamsey conversation should be discussed very dispassionately. Other than that, we will be making references that do not even align with the conversation that we are having. One of them was what Senior just said, that the president has been traveling with private jets, as though Mr. Akufo-Addo has only been the president in the history of Ghana who has traveled with private jets. I'm not sure the expectation was that if our state jet was not working or was not functioning properly, maybe the president should have gone with ship or something.
Commercial flights.
Can I respect?
So
the president should have gone and sit in the economy against our national security interests.
What?
Against our national security interests.
President Akufo flew British Airways business first class. He flew commercial flights first class.
And President Akufo never used a private jet to travel in the. Well, then I'll leave it. Very well. We sit here and praise Americans and co for their for being very intelligent in their security and in terms of their whole presidential apparatus. And we feel that when it comes to Ghana, we must play politics with everything. Of course, it's the same. The lack of dispassionate conversation that will make an expert throw out something there, lay claims that there are heavy chemicals in yams that we eat, but refuse accountability and transparency when you question the source of those chemicals. For instance, if we are talking about heavy chemicals like lead, which are predominantly found in the foodstuffs that we eat, Galamseyers do not use lead in their activities. But we sit here and make it look like the fact that there is a problem, we complex it without having a very separated, dispassionate conversation on that. The same lack of dispassionate conversation will make my brother lay claims and introduce that leg of stealing into a conversation like this and accuse the MPP government of stealing. You are talking about stealing, whilst your own government official was investigated as government official one. When Mr. Mills was in power, Professor Mills was in power, he investigated. Can I? Which outcome?
What was the outcome?
But was it not the same special prosecutor office? Can I land? No, you ask a question. Let me answer you. When Mr. Amidu was the special prosecutor.
I'm not talking about Mr. Amidu.
No, but it's not the same institution. It's not the same institution.
He resigned and referred to your president as the matter.
It's not the same institution. It's not the same institution.
I am talking about the special prosecutor.
It doesn't matter. It's not the same institution.
What was his conclusion?
Mr. Martin Amidu, when was he working? No, I'm saying that Mr. Martin Amidu, when was he working?
Oh, come on.
Where was he working?
Martin Amidu.
Your candidate, Mr. Mahama. Your candidate.
Ask me a question.
Can I land? You think when you were talking, I didn't have the right?
No, but you asked
your candidate, Mr. Mahama. Your candidate, Mr. Mahama, was investigated by his own president. for the cloudy Brazilian aircraft deal. What are you talking about? You just throw everything in conversations that you're having.
Yeah, but
I'm saying that
you shouldn't allow him to get away with government official one has been involved in a criminality.
No, I am saying that the same institution. It wasn't not the same special prosecutor and David who said he was government official. What are we talking about?
Yeah, but he is government official one. That has been established. That has been established by the special prosecutor that he is government official one. But has it been established that he's engaged in a criminal act?
You see, I think being alleged. No, I think you should understand the principle.
When you say he's government official one, exactly what are you saying to achieve with that? That's what I want.
You should allow me to establish the principle. No, I'm saying that in conversations like this. I'm saying that in conversations like this, you see, whether or not there was a bit of criminal element attached to him, the fact that his association alone with this whole arrangement does not speak of his integrity as a person. It's not really about the legal argument that we have to advance.
The outcome of the investigation.
Would you want to take my time?
Counsel, please.
Would you want to take my time?
Counsel,
you start here and stealing. Now I'm referring to you that if you want us to go on that tangent, there are more evidences to you. Sada, how much did you steal? If you want us to reduce this conversation to that we sit here and talk about stealing.
But I'll respond to you.
Very well. Let me land. It's
because when we are talking of celebrated criminals, everybody knows that.
Please allow him to finish making his point, please, and then we'll carry on. Yes.
I'm saying that.
The temptation to invite me to the discussion.
I'm not inviting you, so you control yourself. I won't invite you. Please, if all invitation declined, now let me flow. I am saying that nobody in his right conscience will sit here and pretend that Galamsey is not the menace. But you see, I have always maintained that when we are talking about the Galamsey issue, the conversation that we have in our studios here, the conversation that we have in Accra here, if you go down to the Galamsey areas and you look at the complexity and the enormity of the problem, it's not that very simplistic that we can sit here and politicize it. Of course, I do agree that ultimately, the back rests on leadership that Mr. President, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo needs to take responsibility of. But if we sit here and make it look like, well, it's a whole leadership failure that has to be pinned on the president, I find it very problematic. My point is that, for instance, if you look at the position of organized labor, I am of the opinion that if we are in the middle of a crisis, which we all admit that there is a challenge, I am not sure the solution to that crisis is for organized labor to also complex the same problem. Because you see, if the argument of organized labor is that they are fighting for the interests of Ghanaians, I do not think that if organized labor at the end of the day embark on strike, whilst the innocent people are dying, for instance, doctors are not going to work, students are not going to work, drivers are not using the roads, I'm not sure that is going to solve the problems. I believe that there's a more collective approach in addressing some of these problems. You see, the call by organized labor is that the president should declare a state of emergency on whole mining activities, whether legal or illegal. Yes. And I disagree in a very respectful way to that call. Because you see, for instance, if they are quack doctors in the practice of medicine, it does not necessarily mean that if you want to cramp down on quack doctors, you have to ban the practice of all doctors. That's not the way to go. Again, if you look at, for instance, the practice of the media journalism, the work that you are doing, if they are bad journalists, you don't say that, oh, you have to ban all journalists, the activities of all journalists before you are able to fix the problem. Just like, whilst even if you go to road safety regulations, there are a lot of enforcement issues. There are also reckless driving on our roads. You don't say that because there are reckless drivers on the road, you are going to put embargo on driving activities until you are able to identify who is the good driver and who is the poor driver. But yes, I agree that ultimately you should be able to say that, well, this is a quack doctor and I'm preventing your activities. Which, if you ask me, in my own honest and candid opinion, the president has started and has initiated steps to do that. I have always maintained that if you are dealing with a problem that is so organized and has been systemic, to the extent that the actors of the problem, of course, people may peddle political influence. I am not running away from the fact that there could be politically exposed person in it. I'm not running away from the fact that I'm not running away from the fact that there could be chiefs, there could be a whole long chain who have wielded influence, whether political, whether social, whether economic, who have that influence. If we are dealing with such people, you don't deal with them as you are dealing with robots, where you call for state emergency, and then you dispatch the army, go to the site. It will interest you to know that you go to the site and it's so organized that you're not going to meet anyone guarantee there. Unless, of course, you are going to say that the military or the army are going to police the entire place for the rest of their lives. So we should have this conversation in a very dispassionate perspective,
right?
Where there have to be collective effort, there have to be collective responsibility, and then we say that, look, this is a country, this is the direction that we are going. But if we sit here and politicize it, and you mention names about positions of the MPP, I mean certain pronouncements that based on those pronouncements, it presupposes that the MPP are not willing to fight it. Then we will remind you what your own Professor Jelano Pokwajima recently said, that they will allow Galamsey when they come into power. We will remind you about what President Mahama said in 2020, when he said that when we come, we'll grant all Galamsey's amnesty. So, I mean, the principle that I'm advancing is that beyond the fact that we acknowledge the menace as existing, it should be devoid of a partisan consideration, quite collective, and bring all stakeholders aboard. But I disagree in all humility with the posture of organized labor. I mean, amending. If you recall, during the COVID time, you realize some of the churches were saying that the president had allowed the operation of 9 clubs at the expense of churches being closed down. And for that matter, they were going to withdraw the services of all charismatic hospitals. At the end of the day, who loses? So we have to create a relation, put it in the proper context, and say that, well, organized labor may be having a genuine call. The intent may be right, but I feel that the approach could have been more liberal and considerate, so that they can work together with government. And
let's move on. Let's move on to let's move on to our next.
Which fair? He said we are moving. Are you now the host?
Let's move on.
Are you now the host?
I am not the host. But you see,
he wants to impose his opinion on you. You cannot impose his opinion on him. Wait, direct. Let him proceed.
Today, the coalition. There's a coalition that are protesting against the Chief Justice and President Akufo-Addo over inaction on the anti-gay bill. They are supposed to have gathered at the Obra spot, as demonstrators usually would, and start their demonstration. And we have a man on the ground, and I said when we are ready, we'll bring you an update on that particular one. But essentially, they are not too happy out the way the court processes are being handled. Mr. Jantwa, I'll come back to you on this particular one. Do you support the protest?
I don't understand why it's taking so long for the Supreme Court to handle this issue, especially when there's a lot of public interest.
Well, I mean, they had a press conference and they gave some reasons why.
What were the reasons?
There are people who are supposed to file certain processes that have not been filed, among other things.
Isn't there a time limit on the time you can file processes? So what has happened? For me, so far as I can see, this president doesn't want to pass this bill within his duration. He wants to send it to the next president that comes in. That's the only thing I can see. Because I don't know why the Supreme Court is holding back. When was this sent to the Supreme Court? When? Wasn't it somewhere? Remind me, I've forgotten there. Was it August?
Yeah.
Around that time. And I asked the question. There are laws that govern what the president should do when a bill comes from Parliament to him. Are there not laws that govern it? Has he answered those laws? Has he lived up to the laws that guide his responsibility when a bill comes?
But there are court processes that, dispute that. For example, there's a court process or an application, for an injunction,
is that what the law
president says? From receiving the
is
bill
that what
and
the
all
law,
of that.
is that
So
what the
the
law,
Supreme Court has to deal with all of those issues
before.
The law
says where the president's responsibility is concerned. Is that what the law says? The bill has come to you. If you don't agree, respond back to Parliament. Don't be so. And give reasons why.
But there's an injunction on
why
that.
Do you
application.
Why do you offload it onto the Supreme Court?
He didn't do that while he was a private person.
He said it was what you call it was in court. Tell us why you cannot go by the law that guides you. Tell us. Tell us why. There's a law that guides you. When a bill comes from Parliament and it comes to you, there's a law that states what you should do. He just doesn't want to pass it. He just doesn't want to get his friends cross with him. His foreign friends. Just doesn't want to do it. So he's leaving it for the next president to come and do it.
But now that the issues are in court, can he really do anything about it?
Which issues?
I mean, issues surrounding the bill. for example, an injunction, application on him receiving the bill and all of that, which,
then they should give an injunction for every bill. Wait. They should give an injunction for every bill that goes to the president. An injunction should be given to every bill that comes from Parliament. Then it means the president won't be able to work. Not be so. How can you cripple the president's powers? How? If every bill that left Parliament to the president for his assent, there were injunctions on it, will he be able to work? Will he be able to work? Let the court processes take the court process. Let it go by it. You have a responsibility. Respond back to Parliament and say A, B, C, D, E, I don't agree. If you don't agree, does he agree to LGBTQI? Does the president agree to it?
I don't think he does. I think he's publicly stated a position on that.
Where did he state it?
He's spoken
where
on many occasions.
It
is not under his watch that
his actions,
those things are going to be legalized.
His actions don't follow his words. His actions don't follow his words. This is not something in our culture. But anyway, who am I? Who am I? So let's play around with it. Let's play. Lantam, one thing I don't understand. How can somebody's behavior be a fundamental human right? How? Is it a fundamental human right to breathe? Is it a fundamental human right to have shelter? Is it a fundamental human right to work? How can somebody's lifestyle be a fundamental human right? And then we trumpet it everywhere. I decide to be homosexual. It is my choice to be homosexual. It is my choice to be heterosexual. In fact, being heterosexual is a fundamental human right. How can homosexuality be a fundamental human right? I don't understand that. And that is where the president should have put his foot down. But let's go ahead. I'm dead against LGBTQI. Dead against it. So men should start having children and let's see what will happen to the human race. Yes, men should start having children. Is it possible? Is it possible for a man to sleep with another man and have a child? Is it possible? And we are promoting it. Let's go ahead. Not let us be factual about some of these lifestyles that don't help our society. When you have a son and he comes to you and says, "Daddy, I like men," what will you say to him? You sitting there, Lantam. What will you say to him? Will you embrace him and say, "Aiko"? Or will you say, "Son, watch where you are going"? What would you say? And we think it isn't important. Let's go ahead. Look, the lifestyles of people in other countries, especially the West, is not the lifestyles in Africa. Africa is a unique continent on its own. And if it weren't because we were bordered by our colonial masters, we would have been one country. Because where did they say the Ghans came from? Nigeria. The Ashantis, where did we come from? Mali, Niger. We are one people. That is the distinct thing about Africa. And because of that distinct thing, our colonial masters try to break us up. And we are following their kind of lifestyle. Let's go ahead. And Supreme Court, leave it. Don't do anything about it. Next government comes, don't do anything about it. And you see the effect of what LGBTQ can do to a society.
Yes, Counsel, let me come to you now.
First of all, before I respond to the LGBTQ issue, it is important for me to state that it is not accurate that Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman said that they would allow galamsey. It is not accurate. There's a difference between small-scale mining, large-scale mining, and illegal mining, like I explained earlier.
One is doing mining, that one is illegal.
Please, one can be engaged. You said it, please. One can be engaged in small-scale mining and be engaged in doing it illegally. And same can be said of large-scale mining. What we have always said, and President Mahama in particular, has indicated that when we are voted into power, we would ensure that we further regulate the mining sector and use our district assemblies to play leading roles in terms of reclamation of the lands.
Okay.
And President Mahama has also stated publicly that under his leadership, water bodies and forest zones will still remain red zones as far as mining is concerned.
I think you made those points. So let's come back to the issue.
But you see,
let's come to the issue.
You see, the two are connected or interconnected. Issues of illegal mining and that of this LGBTQ issue. And the point of intersection, again, has to do with Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. Like the Galamsey issue, to expect Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to do something about the LGBTQ bill is tantamount to expecting a well-fed cow to be forced through the needle of the eye of a needle. It is never going to happen. Just like Nana Addo will never fight Galamsey because the government is made up of Galamseyers, Nana Addo will never sign that bill, no matter what we do as a republic. Everybody must accept that fact. And if you are interested in getting that bill passed into law, then your utmost divine responsibility and social responsibility and cultural responsibility would be to join efforts with the National Democratic Congress to uproot these guys out of that Flagstaff house. And you see, I will explain why. Unfortunately, for those of us who always continue to hold some reverence as far as the legal fraternity is concerned, Nana Addo's presidency is not only threatening our environment, is not only threatening our state institutions that are supposed to be non-partisan like the Electoral Commission. Nana Addo's presidency is threatening the independence of the judiciary. And I'll explain why in relation to this particular case. Lantam, the Judicial Service indicated that the reason why they are not proceeding with the case is largely because the first defendant and the second defendant in the case of the Attorney General in both cases have failed to file their statement of case.
Yeah.
I am going to... And
they failed to file their defense within the period stipulated by the rules of the court.
You see, permit me.
And there is an application that has been filed seeking an extension
I'll get
of time.
to that. If you are patient with me, I'll get to that. I think that I have time to respond to that issue. I'm referring you to CI 16, which is the Supreme Court rules. And when it comes to appearance and statement of defense, Rule 48.1, with your permission, I read. It says, a defendant upon whom a writ and a statement of the plaintiff's case are served shall, if he so wishes, underline that, if he wishes to contest the case within 14 days of the service of the statement of the plaintiff's case, or within such time as the court upon terms may direct, file a statement of defense. File a statement of the defendant's case, which shall be signed by the defendant or his counsel. What this rule simply seeks to suggest or communicate is that filing the statement of case, in this case, that is the statement of defense, by either the first defendant or the second defendant, the first defendant being the Speaker of Parliament, and the second defendant is not a requirement that would determine the handling of the case. Indeed, the first and second defendants can elect not to even file their pleadings as far as the statement of case is concerned. That is what this means. So it does not, the fact that they have failed to do so does not mean that the Supreme Court cannot proceed, according to its own rules of court, cannot proceed to determine the issue. It is not accurate. Again, the same Supreme Court ought to understand, or the Judicial Service, they ought to understand that references again to the CI 16, it gives you, I hear that they're also making references to the fact that they failed to file their memorandum of issues. Again, if the defendants are not interested in filing their memorandum of issues, the Supreme Court is allowed or is clothed with the authority to still proceed to determine the matter. So what ought to have been done was that the registrar of the court, under normal circumstances, but unfortunately we are not under normal circumstances, ought to have more or less fixed a date for the hearing of the plaintiff's application, which was not done. And if the registrar failed to do so, the plaintiff who brought the case ought to have brought in an application for the registrar to fix a date for the hearing of the case, regardless of whether the defendants have agreed to file their statement of case or not. That was not done in this case. Again, when they filed the interim application, the interlocutory application, in law, I think that senior comrade would agree with me, that immediately the process is instituted and the motion is filed, the application is filed. Please, you are not the host, like you indicated. This is important because I want you to see the intersection between Nanado and the judiciary. Immediately the processes were filed, it invariably operated as an injunction on the presidency in terms of signing the bill. That position has been clearly espoused in the case of ex parte Mofat. You know that. Now, what this simply means is that if the defendants are not willing to allow the interlocutory injunction to succeed, they put in an application against that injunction. In this case, they both did the same. The first defendant, the Speaker of Parliament, and that of the Attorney General. But the Supreme Court decided to defer a judgment on their interlocutory injunction application. And the effect of the defer also still operates as an injunction. So what they have done, on one hand, is that they are unwilling to go ahead with the case, but to buy time until the elections are over. And on another side, what would have made it possible for the president to sign the bill, they have decided to defer that aspect of the case. In this case, the interlocutory injunction. So you realize that it appears that the Supreme Court is acting in concert with the executive to frustrate that bill.
Okay.
And the statement they released yesterday clearly betrays the principles as espoused.
I want you to hold that thought a bit. And before I come to Kwesi Kwarteng, let's cross over to my colleague Obed King Gaglo, who is with the protesters, to give us an update on how the protest is going. Obed, if you can hear me, welcome to the show. Where are you now, and what's been happening as far as this protest is concerned? Hello, Obed, can you hear me? All right. I can't seem to hear my colleague Obed, but let me come to you now, Kwesi Kwarteng, on this. There's a protest today against I don't know how to describe it, but the seeming shenanigans as far as dealing with this bill and the cases in court is concerned, according to the protesters. Do you support their protest?
I don't. They have the right to do it. It is not my own personal opinion. I don't think this is genuine.
You don't think it's genuine?
I believe that is.
There are traditional authorities. We are told that there are traditional authorities who are very interested in this. We are told that churches are very interested in this. The Christian Council,
we've had a lot of protests which has been
all of that.
We've had a lot of
processes. Are very interested in this.
We've had a lot of processes which has been sponsored, or politically motivated. I'm not saying this is one, but I don't see the genuineness so far as this protest is concerned, particularly when there are legal frameworks within which things operate within this country. You see, this was a private sponsored bill, if I'm right, and the private entities or individuals held every right to table such a bill before Parliament for consideration before Parliament approved it.
All right. I want you to hold that thought, not to cut you, but let's cross over to Obed now. I think we can hear him clearly now, so that we can just get a quick update before we continue. Obed, if you can hear me, what is happening on the ground as far as the protest is concerned?
Right, so Lantam, live here from the Obra Sports at the Kwame Nkrumah interchange. Protesters who are going to march against the delay by the Supreme Court, which deferred the ruling or the judgment of the bill on July 17, are here in full force, gathering momentum to start the protest. As you may be aware, the chief convener or the proponent of this bill is Samuel Nate George, who is also here. But before we engage him, we have other members of the coalition, Arise Ghana, who are also here this morning, who are holding their placards ready for the protest to begin. So let me engage Rex Omar, who is part of the conveners of Arise Ghana, who just arrived here. To find out from them, we are aware that the Chief Justice and the Judicial Service held a press conference yesterday, giving some timelines. I think that should be enough for this protest to stop. Don't you think so?
I didn't hear any word that you said.
All right, so I'm saying that we know you are here for this protest, but we are aware that yesterday the Judicial Service and the Chief Justice held a press conference trying to explain the reason why it has delayed, and they are saying that the Attorney General had not filed some processes and also they spelled out some timelines. Won't that be enough for the protest to stop?
The Chief Justice's press conference did not answer any of our questions. The question is, why did she wait till yesterday? This case has been in court for almost 6 months. Why yesterday? Why did it have to take us to agitate before coming out to do this press conference? They say justice delayed is justice denied. There have been several instances where cases go to the Supreme Court and the justices and the Chief Justice can say within 90 days this issue must be dealt with. We have had several instances where even election cases, they give a timeline. Why not this one? So the whole situation is they are playing judiciary gymnastics just to shield Akufo-Addo from assenting this bill, and that is why she, the Chief Justice, who is a mother, a wife, we want to know her stand on this issue. So all we are asking is, if she wants to adjudicate this issue, she should do it as soon as possible. That's all we're asking.
Thank you very much, so Lantam. That was Rex Omar, who just engaged us. So we see some judge approaching this area and we'll be engaging him shortly. But the atmosphere is charged. People hoisting their placards, say no to gay and lesbianism. And another one reads that hearing delays hurt the nation. And the police are also here in their numbers and trying to make sure that the protest will be peaceful. So let me engage Samuel Nate George, who is the lead convener of this protest, to find out from him what he makes of the announcement by the Judicial Service yesterday and also the Chief Justice. You are welcome to GHOne TV. We are aware that the Judicial Service held a press conference yesterday and they are saying that they cannot be blamed and that the AG is to be blamed. What do you make of that? Would that not be enough for the protest to halt?
We don't pay the Chief Justice and the Judicial Service to hold press conferences. We pay them to deliver justice. They should do their job and stop holding press conferences. We're not interested in the press conferences and the excuses they give. We're interested in the expeditious delivery of justice. So the Chief Justice and the Judicial Service should stop enough of the press conferences. They are not a media house. They are a law and justice delivery institution. They should deliver justice.
Right. Others also believe that this is politically motivated. What will be your response?
Homosexuality knows no political colors. Just like Galam say. What is politically motivated about this? Is it politically motivated that the Chief Justice is deciding to act as a cog in the wheel of justice? Is it politically motivated that the Chief Justice is becoming subservient to the Attorney General and that the Chief Justice is unable to do her job with the powers vested in her because she's waiting for the Attorney General? Is that politically motivated? The end game today is to start the beginning of making it uncomfortable for the judiciary to continue to sit there and not do the job that we pay them a salary to do.
Thank you very much, Samuel Nate George. So that was the lead convener of this protest, Samuel Nate George, talking to us about the end game today is to march on the streets of Accra, starting here at the Obra Sports at the Kwame Nkrumah interchange, to make sure that they register their displeasure against what it says the delays of the bill to be passed. Let me engage some more protesters here who are having placards here, and also part of this protest. You are welcome to GHOne TV. You are here this morning. What is your motivation to be part of this protest?
As the card says, time justice to protect against our values and to protect against LGBTQ. As we are here in this country, we know that our culture do not permit this thing. So we are here to protest against the government that they should sign the bill into possession so that it will protect our culture and our future case for this. That is why we are here this morning.
Right, thank you very much. So Lantam, the protest is about to begin in full force. The protesters are here. The Ghana Police Service is also here in full force, ready to make sure that the protest is peaceful at the end of the day.
All right, very well. So thank you very much, Obed King Aglo there. The protest, they are the protest grounds, and they are yet to begin the march. So let me come back to you, Kwesi Kwarteng, on this issue. So I mean, you've seen the protesters have gathered. You heard from Rexomar, Sam George, and co on why they want to do the protest. You still maintain that you don't believe that it's coming from a genuine place.
I mean, I'm saying that. I mean, particularly in the timing of the demonstration, one reserves the right to question the genuinity of, such concerns. And if you look at the individuals who are there, Rexomar, Sam George and co, even though he has been the promoter of the bill, largely one can deduce a bit of political push from it. But that's not my concern.
Mr. Joshua,
my goodness,
laughing.
No, because it's funny. It is so strange that my brother is not.
He didn't ask you.
He's not interested in more time for the first time today.
Which time? That was behind the scene. Why are you bringing this on air?
Let's hurry up and move to education.
No, you initially, if you recall, we were scheduled to close at 8:30, right? And then senior asked me time are you close. They said we're going to add 10.
That is behind
the scenes. So are you bringing it on air?
So please address the issue. Address the issue.
No, my point is that whilst we want to conduct our struggles and our concerns and believe that we reserve the right for our concerns to be addressed, I feel that in doing that we must also give recourse to the rule of law and what the legal framework do provides, especially when you reserve the right to initiate a private member's bill, bring it to parliament, and then parliamentary processes also go on. If that process has been terminated, I think it's only fair that when it comes to the judiciary, we must not just necessarily gag them under the umbrella of demonstrations and maybe protests. I don't think that's the way to go, particularly when the judiciary had been very magnanimous. Usually the judiciary do not even want to come and explain themselves. But they also acknowledge that the fact that there is also that bit of, the general or public interest. On that matter, they came to explain the reasons why the case has halted. Of course, one thing we should be asking is the alacrity of the parties involved in the case to be able to pursue the case at the end of the day. I am not sure it is right for us to gag the judiciary, particularly the Supreme Court. That is just, this gentleman has been called to the UK, but God willing Friday he should be called to. We are hoping that he gets called to the Ghana bar. So I'm surprised that the Supreme Court that he will be holding allegiance to, the same Supreme Court he stays here and malign. I won't be holding allegiance. Can I land? You have the right. He said he was 10 minutes. We all want the time. Don't worry. The same Supreme Court that he seeks to serve and hold allegiance to, he sits on TV and malign the same Supreme Court. I believe what is happening is a matter of procedures and processes. At the end of the day, even if we want to go into the legalities of it, if we look at, for instance, the Criminal Offences Act, Section 104, for instance, is very clear when it comes to the position of the country, when it comes to our, criminal offences or the criminal justice system, when it comes to the whole conversation about whether or not people can have, in terms of whether homosexual activities can proceed. Our laws are very clear on that, particularly when you look at the natural carnal knowledge, provision within the Act 29. So it is not a case that in the case of Ghana laws, it is silent on it. No, in the case of Ghana, it's very clear that it's an activity that is banned. So if at the end of the day, you believe that in terms of the punishment that should be prescribed to that activity or that act, there should be maybe more stringent punishment. I mean, personally, I do not believe on my. That's why I'm not speaking for the New Patriotic Party. But personally, I do not believe that somebody necessarily must be imprisoned because he committed an offense involving, sexual misconduct, particularly in the case of the homosexuals or what. I feel that there can be better ways of handling that, particularly when the Criminal Offences Act Section 104 is very clear and is already banned.
But I think that the bill also deals with some of those issues, provides for, reformation, and all of those things.
But
the bill deals,
I agree.
If you read it, it deals with some of these issues.
I agree. But there have been diverse positions on the bill. People, particularly, I've listened to the likes of H.Kwesi Prempeh, for instance, his arguments on the bill. I think he has problem with the punishment aspect. He's not necessarily a government spokesperson. Therefore, the late Shishi, Mr. Kutampa, he's also had different opinion about it. So there's been divided opinion.
But the way it's structured, there's not punishment straight up. There are many opportunities that are given for people who desist from the act.
But ultimately,
even before the punishment is sort of like the very last.
Ultimately, whichever way there is a punishment that is prescribed to it, which accordingly, depending on the feeling of a certain judge, you may not know when the judge will want to provoke or maybe say that give this sentence or this kind of punishment. But that is not even the thrust of my argument. The thrust of my argument is that if we believe that certain institutions like Parliament reserve the right to use all the parliamentary processes that has been defined within the framework of the law to be able to pass, a certain bill into an act, which of course requires a presidential assent. I am not sure at the end of the day, any of us expects that if there is any person or any office that's supposed to disrespect and usurp all the other governmental organs, it should be the president or executive of the government. I'm not sure that's what Nana Jantua is advancing. I'm not sure that's what you are also advancing. That if there is any institution or any entity that you usurp and disrespect other organs of government in terms of working within the remit of the law, within what the framework of the law has provided, it should be the president. So let's allow, there has been injunction processes, there has been court processes, the court and the Supreme Court and the judiciary in particular has come out to explain that it is not their doing, it has to do with the parties. So instead of, reading political meaning into it, trying to narrow it down on the president, whether or not the president want to assign or not, I don't think that is the issue. The issue is that the court processes needs to terminate. Because at the end of the day, if the president do assent, and then the Supreme Court comes to say that, well, this is a law that we do not agree with, what do we have to do? Are we then have to go into a repeal process, go to waste everybody's time, go through parliamentary process to repeal it?
Does everything have to go through the law? The courts?
No,
it's the president's.
No, but you see, at the end of the day, Mr. Janto, at the end of the day, it is the same legal framework that provided an opportunity for people to exercise their right through the parliamentary system. So why don't we want to extend the same courtesies to the court? That when it comes to the judiciary, when a matter is before the judiciary and they are hearing the matter, we believe that my brother who is just to be called to the bar and sit here and malign the Supreme Court just because he feels that Mr. Akufo-Addo is the one manipulating or micromanaging the Supreme Court. If it's about micromanagement, we saw what President Mahama did in the Munchitra. Even after a court determination, the court declaration has been made, he went ahead and made a decision that within the spirit of the law was very weird, that we all questioned.
But it was lawful what the president.
No, but I'm saying that the spirit of the law. That's why I'm saying you may reserve the right to do. But you think that the president doesn't have, Mr. Akufo doesn't have the power. No, but you think Mr. President Akufo doesn't have the power. Can I like?
Don't worry.
You see, if it is about matters of legality, then do you also question that the Supreme Court also cannot work within the same framework of the law, since the law provides same for them, that any case they should hear it? And you think the president does not also have reserved the right that if a matter is before the Supreme Court, he also reserves the right to wait for a final determination of the matter before he assents to the bail or not? So if it is about the law and we want to play legality with it, let's also allow the Supreme Court to work. Let's allow Mr. President not to usurp other governmental organs. And let's wait for the outcome of the Supreme Court decision. Then all consequential decisions will be made.
Counsel. Yes, let me just give. So just do the clarification you want to make.
It is important for me to
and then let's begin to wrap up.
My allegiance is not to the Supreme Court of Ghana. My allegiance is to the Republic of this country. And most importantly, my fidelity is to the national.
I think the context was very clear that you being called to the bar. Don't misrepresent this.
I'll get that. Yes, whichever way you see it. Even being called to the bar, my allegiance is not to the Supreme Court. It's to the judiciary of this country. And that includes the Supreme Court. And you see, again, I did not in any way malign the Supreme Court. What I sought to do was simply to criticize the statement released by the judiciary.
Unfair criticism. Was unfair?
It was not. It was grounded in law. I made references to the CI that regulates procedure at the Supreme Court. If you had any issues with my references to the law, it was within your right as a government spokesperson who now pretends to be speaking for the judiciary to also make references to the same law, because you will also be called. I can understand that is the modus operandi of the NPP. So do not be surprised that if by tomorrow you hear that, Hamza Suhini's call to the bar has been suspended.
Look at this.
Like
why the lawsuit is now?
Daily bread will not.
Why the lawsuit is now managed by NPP?
You people are.
The lawsuit is now managed by the NPP.
But see, that is just by the way. That is why you are setting that tone. But having said that, Lantam, coming back to the substantive issue. First of all,
I mean, just land on that.
Yes, I beg you. This is important.
An issue that I want the ministry PRO to address.
You are not being fair to me.
And then,
you see, first of all, I made references to the fact that Nanado is not committed to the fight to signing the bill, and it's grounded in law. In November 2017, less than a year, when Nanado became president, he indicated to the whole nation that the issue of LGBTQ rights was a matter that was bound to happen. As if that was not enough, March of this year, the same Nanado meeting the international community when the issue of the bill became topical at the international front. This was what Nanado told them, and I'm reading verbatim. I am aware that last week's bipartisan passage by Parliament of the Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill on a private member's motion has raised considerable anxieties in certain quarters of the diplomatic community and among some friends of Ghana that she may be turning her back on her hitherto enviable long-standing record on human rights observance, attachments to the rule of law, and attachments to the rule of law. And this is instructive. He continues, I want to assure you that no such backsliding will be contemplated or occasioned. End of quote. That is President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo speaking. And the next day after this declaration, his own appointed finance minister issued a statement indicating how signing of that particular bill will affect the economic fortunes of this country and prevent the country from having access to about 3.8 billion funds
because
from the
world. Bill is backwards. Already Section 104 of the Criminal Offences Act provides.
When you were speaking,
the bill is backward.
Please. You see, that was his own appointed finance minister. So it should not be lost on any Ghanaian that this is a government that is not committed to signing that bill. And I have demonstrated on this very platform why I feel the conduct of the Supreme Court and the statement of the Judicial Service in particular betrays the very rules that regulate the proceedings at the Supreme Court. And one cannot help himself but to conclude that there seems to be some kind of understanding between the Supreme Court and that of the executive in terms of how to frustrate. It can elect to proceed to hear the matter, whether or not the parties have filed their statement of case. There are several examples where the Supreme Court has proceeded to handle such cases where the defense or the defendants have failed to make appearances.
No, not when the parties are not interested.
Please. That is what I have just read to you under Rule 45(1) of the CI16,
a recommendation to bound,
where it says that if the person so wishes. So what it simply means is that the Speaker of Parliament and the Attorney General are not obligated to file a statement of case, which can also be referred to as a statement of defense, before the Supreme Court determines the matters in dispute. In any case, the Supreme Court is clothed with that inherent authority to proceed despite the fact that they have failed to do so. So if the Supreme Court is telling us that they are unable to proceed largely because the parties have failed in some instances to file their statement of case and memorandum of issues, I am saying that based on their own rules of procedure, this is alien and this is clearly unacceptable and does not seem to accord with the law.
All right.
And
I'm not sure the Supreme Court is bound. Is that the provision that you read? I'm not sure the Supreme Court is bound in terms of making a decision of going forward.
The Supreme Court can exercise its inherent jurisdiction.
Thank you.
Because if at the end of the day,
thank you very much, Hamza. Thank you. Thank you very much, Hamza. Thank you. Thank you. Are you still watching GH Today here on GH1 television? Director, I believe that you've muted their mics. Thank you. Thank you very much. We will move on to our very final issue, which has got to do with something about education. I'm happy Kwesi Kwarteng is here, and so he'll give us a short response to that, and then we can wrap up. We'll take a short break here. When we return, we'll get into it. Welcome back to the show. You're still watching GH Today. We have just about 7 minutes to wrap up our discussions here on the show today. My guests in the studio today, Mr. Kwame Jantwa from the CPP, Hamza Suhini from the NDC, and Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng from the NPP. He also speaks for the Education Ministry. And speaking of education, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, have been speaking. Take a look at this.
Locality like this, I have 40 schools in my locale, and then looking at this locale, most of the schools are in the remote areas. Schools like Aketebo, Bukuno, and so they're all in the remote areas and then hard to reach. Teachers to be posted there is another issue. The problem we are facing now is teacher posting of newly trained teachers. All the newly trained teachers who came this year are all in the cities, in the big schools in the cities, overstaffed. How can a basic school have close to about 30, a primary school, just one stream primary school, have close to about 30 teachers, whilst we have only class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, class 5 classes, KG1, KG2, we should have had at least 8 teachers and a head teacher. And now we are having almost 30 teachers, so many newly trained teachers brought to those schools. Now they are sitting idle, doing nothing. Government says we shouldn't touch them, per what our directors are telling us. So how can we also fit and then complete those who are struggling in the villages? All the villages that we are having, or all the remote areas that we are having, have no teachers. How can a basic school, example Aketebo, have only 3 teachers? KG to JHS having 3 teachers. How can the teaching and learning be effective? We need to let government release the postings to the districts and the regions to do for us. This is our work as teachers. We are the role models. We are the pace setters. We are the nation builders. But when it comes to issues of education, the political parties are just playing with us. Seriously, education shouldn't be politicized. When you study it critically, you realize that education is being politicized all the time. Why should education continue to be politicized? They come, they deceive us. Oh, we are providing computers for all schools. And now, look at it. Currently, we say digital. We've digitized everything. But we don't have computers in our schools. How can we be learning without the use of computers? How can any proper education go on without a computer? It is a highly attended issue which we have to look at. Education should be computerized. Education should come digital. But we say digital, but where are the tools? There is no tool for it. ICT tools are very important in our education, which we need, but they are always deceiving us. They don't bring it to us. As I speak, education is standing.
All right. So, some of the teachers they're speaking about some of the issues within the education sector. How do you respond to some of the issues that were raised? I mean,
first of all, let me say that it's a concern that first maybe I'll just get the name of the school, and in terms of the discrepancy in terms of the teacher distribution, we'll rectify it together with the Ghana Education Service. From the data that I have, we do not have, in terms of the number of teachers, we do not have low numbers because, for instance, at the senior high schools, for instance, we are looking at around 15:1 in the grammar schools because we are looking at about 1,331,000, 1.3 million students in terms of the proportion to 85,934 teachers. So if you do the proportion, you do the division, you'll be getting around 15:1 teachers, which is one of the lowest in the sub-region. Even at the TB space, we are looking at around 13:1 teachers. So if such problem exists, probably we are looking at maybe a distributional discrepancy that may be purely due to administrative issue. So, I'll just get the name of the school and we will rectify it. I don't think this is an issue that goes beyond us. It is possible. It is a possibility that in terms of your teacher distribution, because if you post teachers to schools that at the end of the day they decide not to go, they are not bound to take the appointment. It's an offer. So you may have some distributional discrepancies that if that is the case in his school, we will quickly rectify it. But I am very much aware that at the basic school level alone, if you look at, for instance, from the whole teachers within the pre-tertiary space, we are looking at about 280,000 teaching staff. So, I mean, generally, even if you look at, for instance, the ratio of proportion at the SHS level, we are looking at cumulative around 13:1 teachers, which is one of the lowest and the best that we have. So I do not necessarily think this is an issue. It may be a distributional flow challenge that will address it.
All right. Very well. Thank you for responding to that. I would have to wrap up here. There's a correction that you wanted to make, Council.
First of all, I was having a discussion with my senior comrade and council, where the point needs to be made that when I made reference to CI 16, I think that I erroneously quoted section 45, rule 45.1. It should be rule 48.1 of the CI 16. Yes, right. That empowers, that more or less gives the discretion to either file a statement of claim or otherwise to the parties in this case. And so, even failure to do so, the Supreme Court can be minded to proceed with the hearing of the case.
But the Supreme Court is not obliged.
Very well.
And it's not bound.
We'll have to wrap up the discussion.
No, but they are not obliged or bound. They can decide so much to take that initiative.
The Supreme Court will not allow an abuse of the court processes. And if a party is unwilling to file processes in terms of statement of case, it is within.
No, but you also have to look at the mood of the nation in relation to. You also have to look at the mood of the nation in relation to this matter. Where the Supreme Court will carry.
I agree.
Yes,
but the point
we
I
have
am
to wrap
making
it
is
up here.
the point
I think you've made the point. I think
you
repeated it. You made a correction.
It's time. It's simply a calculated agenda.
Are you saying Supreme Court has been compromised?
CPP.
I'm not saying.
Are you saying Supreme Court has been?
Hamza Suini is a member of the NDC, and of course, Kwesi Kwarteng is the member of the NPP. There's still more to come here on GH Today. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're welcome back to the show. This is GH Today. I am Serwaa Amihere. I know that for many of you, having immigration issues or actually getting a visa is a problem. And it's quite understandable because the rate at which people get refused visas to the United Kingdom, to the United States of America is quite high. But today, we have someone in the studios to break it down for us, some of the mistakes that we have been making for which we refused visas. If you find yourself in a situation like that, what you should do. Rhoda Frimpong is an immigration expert lawyer. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing
Who is
well.
an immigration expert lawyer, by the way?
Who is a person who has gone through law school, has specialized in the practice of immigration, has passed the bar. There are people who have gone to law school and graduated, but they have not passed the bar, so they're a lawyer. But in order to become an attorney, you actually have to pass the bar. So.
Okay, so you majored in immigration issues. Why?
My father's, myself. I was born in Ghana. I was actually born in Tema, and I immigrated about over 25 years ago. And originally, I did it on the side. I just wanted to do something as a side hustle. My initial reason for going to law school was to be a prosecutor. I was fascinated with big crimes, drug cartels for some reason. During the era of the Trayvon Martin criminal case that occurred in the United States, I realized just how much the government had people assisting them. Unfortunately, the people themselves did not have anyone on their side that looked like them. Often in courtrooms, I had people that look like me who are the ones that need a lawyer, and the lawyer does not look like me. So I decided to switch sides and leave working for the government and work for the people. And I realized that the immigrant community needed the information. The information is there. The people are there, but there's a gap. And so I saw myself as the bridge to that gap. So. Okay.
So when does one need an immigration lawyer?
So technically, the law does not require an immigration lawyer. However, because this area of law is very evolving, it's almost like the Word of God. It's alive. It's very active. It's always changing. It helps to have someone who knows and is immersed in that world because you don't know what you don't know. So I wouldn't say you require it, but it's helpful to have one, especially if you're in immigration court. Most judges won't even allow you really to proceed. They'll tell you to go back and find a lawyer if you can, or find an organization that will assist you if you can't afford it. But it's in most people's best interest to get an attorney because something as simple as the change of a form version, right? The form itself may not change, but the dates on the bottom of the form may change, and that alone could cause your case to be rejected.
Okay, so you don't necessarily need an immigration lawyer when you're trying to make an application?
Not officially.
But it's in your own interest.
It's in your best interest to, yes, because you're not well versed with it. And the forms, though they say the forms are easy to fill out, they're not. It's very nuanced, right? They'll ask you 5 different questions in 5 different ways, trying to get to the same result. And if you don't know, you'll mess it up, right? You'll answer one question here and they answer it differently there, and there may be discrepancies, which will ultimately cause issues for you at your interview.
Okay, since we're talking about application processes, I mean, I know that you know that Ghanaians have a big problem when it comes to these applications. Correct. And usually we hear people say that we make very little mistakes. That's why we refused the visas. Right. From the work that you have done, how long have you been practicing as an immigration lawyer?
Officially as an attorney, 8 years, but within immigration, 10 years this year.
10 years. Yeah. What are some of the mistakes that you have realized?
Something as simple as just your date of birth. You know, the United States uses the month, day, year, whereas Ghana does the day, month, year. That alone could be an issue, right? If you're putting your date of marriage, and maybe you were married on October 9th, 2024, but you put 9/10/2024. That's September 10th in the United States. So something as trivial as that. Not putting full information is often what causes people to find themselves in issues. I would even say something as seemingly innocent as a photo that you use for your application. Right, the picture you take to attach to your application could determine whether you get approved or denied. Something as simple as that.
You have an immigration seminar coming up.
I do, on Thursday.
On this Thursday?
This Thursday.
Where?
At Lancaster Accra Hotel.
Okay. Yeah. Why did you decide to hold an immigration seminar?
So I did it about 2 years ago, just kind of in the same hotel, just kind of on a whim, because I was seeing consistently that the individuals that were coming to my office, most of the issues that were arising was because of things that were done here before they left. Right, in desperation to get the visitor's visa, we'll put on the application that we have.
What kind of, I mean, not to interrupt that, what kind of issues do they bring to you?
So it varies. Let's say somebody comes to the United States on a visitor's visa. Now they've fallen in love and they want to get married, and their spouse wants to file for a green card for them so they can live in the United States long term.
Right.
That's usually not a difficult issue. The problem is that when the person was leaving Ghana, they stated that they were married. Because usually it's said within the community that if you're married, there's a better chance of getting a visitor's visa. The issue then becomes once you get to the United States, the U.S. government's going to require a divorce decree, which you most likely won't have because you were never really married. So it's those kind of situations where people come to me and, you know, the question becomes, lawyer, what do I do? And I say, well, you said you're married, go get a divorce, right? Or sometimes people will get divorced, but they may not do it the proper way. And so the divorce may not be recognized by the U.S. government, and then you've already married your new spouse in the United States, but because you're still legally married in Ghana, that marriage is nullified and it's no longer valid. And so your entire case is thrown out the window. So, yeah.
Okay, let's come back to the immigration seminar here.
Yeah.
You said you had it about 2 years ago.
Correct. Yeah.
What did you achieve with it then, and why are you back to do it?
So it was, like I said, kind of on the whim because I just wanted to get information out there. You know, a lot of my colleagues think I run a nonprofit organization. It is a business, but I find that, you know, for lack of knowledge, people are perishing. And I'm seeing just so many people going through things that they don't need to go through just simply because of limited information or access to information. So we came down, you know, just did about, I think about 40 people. Just to get the information out there, just kind of to spread the word, because it may not necessarily be that you want to come to the United States, right? But you may know someone who does. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. And so if you know that, wait, that's not the case, I've spoken to a U.S. immigration attorney, and this is what I learned, you're able to debunk that person's myth and give someone else the proper information that they need. And we realized that it was successful. I mean, the outcome was great. People were able to get visitors visa and come to the United States. We met a few people who came to the program that were able to come to America. And so we decided to do it again on a slightly bigger scale. We had some sponsors come on board who've helped us make this, you know, available to a lot more people. So, yeah.
So it's going for 500 Ghana cedis
Currently.
to get all of the information that
For
you
2
need.
hours with me, and 2 hours with a lawyer in America is
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot
Even
of money.
here, it's a lot of money.
Right.
And you say that you're running a business, it's not an NGO.
Correct.
But you're charging 200 Ghana cedis, for instance, because you love Ghanaians so much.
Because to me, it's more so getting the information to the person. You know, I'm, by God's grace, I'm doing well with my business. And so this is my way of kind of giving back. Left to me, I'd make it free, but my team won't necessarily let me. And so, you know, we had to. Yeah, but also doing it in Kumasi as well.
Oh, when?
Next week, Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Yes.
So what are you hoping that participants or people who come to this event will take away?
To be able to answer the question, lawyer, I want to come to America, how do I do it? Because that's the question I get a lot. And the answer I usually give them is, it depends on your situation. It depends on your circumstance. Do you have family in the United States? What is your background? Do you have a bachelor's degree? Do you have a master's degree? Are you just coming to visit? There's so many different ways to get to the United States. There's so many different ways to stay in the United States. And so this is more of a comprehensive information for the person who wants to either visit, to study, to work, to live. Maybe the person has a spouse in the United States and wants to understand the process. So you'll walk away knowing a little bit of everything, but you'll walk away with at least a solid understanding that you have options to come to the United States.
But you're not based in Ghana.
Not currently.
Even after the summit, if I have any questions and I need any support, you know, how is it going to happen? How do they contact you?
I actually have a lot of clients in Ghana.
Okay.
Because U.S. immigration law is federal, and so it's the same throughout the country in all parts of the world. And so people are able to contact our phone number, +1508 439 4445. It's available on WhatsApp, and they're able to contact us, and we're able to help. We have calls on WhatsApp, calls on Zoom. However I need to get in contact with the person who needs information, I do it.
Okay. Yeah. I want us to talk about working in the U.S., for instance. Is it difficult?
It depends on who you ask.
I'm asking you.
If you don't have documentation, it can be.
What kind of documentation? Is it easy for someone to just get up and say that I'm going to the U.S. to go and work?
If the person's leaving here with the correct credentials, let's say you have an advanced degree of some sort, or if you even have a job offer, then yes, you can. But naturally, no. Most people that come to the United States are coming there either just to visit and go to school, and through that they're able to go ahead and get a job, or they have a family member petitioning for them. That's most of the time what I'm seeing at least from Ghana. Other parts of the world, we get people who are coming just for school and just to work. for a place like India. I have a few clients who come from India who have advanced degrees. They're in the STEM program, so they have engineering degrees. They are in high demand by Silicon Valley in California. That person does not need a family member to petition for them. They, Apple is looking for you, Google is looking for you. But for most people that come from Ghana, Nigeria, and similar countries, it's usually family-based. More so now we're seeing national interest waiver, where a person who has the credentials, let's say has a master's degree, has 10 years of experience, is able to petition on their own to go to the United States and work. Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at the typical cases from Ghana and the West African countries where it's family petition based. Right. How do they navigate around the process? Because I know that some people live here, like they leave this country under the guise of going to visit, but they actually want to stay there, live there and work. How are you able to facilitate the process for them?
Well, your intention at the time of your application is what the government is looking at. And the reason, basically what you just stated, is why most people get denied a visitor's visa. Because the presumption is that you're not coming just to visit. You have immigrant intent. Your plan is to stay long term. And it's because most people have used that visa to go and stay long term. So one, you have to break that barrier, break that assumption, and prove that, no, indeed, you're just going to stay. You're just going to go visit, maybe visit family, go to a wedding, graduation. Now, if that was your intention when you left Ghana, that's fair. People's intentions change all the time. Perhaps you came to the United States to visit, to visit a graduation, and you realize, I like this school, maybe I want to advance my degree and get a master's. That's when you see people will say, okay, I want to change and go to school, so they'll change status and become international students instead. Then usually during school, they fall in love. The person that they fall in love with happens to be a citizen, the person marries them, and they file for them. So that's generally the trajectory that we see for most people that leave Ghana. Yeah, but a few people do come back, though. They do.
How many people? I think that at this rate, I cannot think of more than 5 people who want to come back here. But you talk about the fact that some of the mistakes that we make is very little tiny mistakes. If I apply for a visa and I'm refused, sometimes there's the option of appealing. Right. I don't know if it happens with the US as well, but I know that with the UK visas you can appeal them. Do I need an immigration lawyer for that kind of thing? So
unlike UK, US does not have the option to appeal.
They don't have
It's a big phrase, but basically just means that the consulate's decision is final. You can challenge if you feel as though it's a wrong application of law, but you can't appeal a decision by the consulate. It's usually final.
Okay, so you can challenge it
if it's a wrong application of law.
Have you challenged a few before?
I've never had to, because it wasn't a wrong application of law. So usually for a person to get a visitor's visa, you have to prove that your intention for leaving matches the visa. So if you're going to visit, indeed the officer believes you're going to visit, you have proof that you'll return. You have proof that you can finance your stay there. That's generally what you have to establish. If the officer says no because you didn't prove any one of those things, then it's a correct application of law. There's no point in challenging.
Okay, that. You say that if the officer believes that you are just going to visit, but you've been to the U.S. Embassy in Ghana before. Yeah. I don't know. You probably may not have to haven't had to apply for a visa, but sometimes they don't even ask you any question, and your documents may be intact. They can just look at your face and decide that you don't get the visa. If you don't ask me a question, how do you know my intention? Or they can just look at you. I'm asking you because of all the work that you've done. Right. What's the thought process, behind some of these decisions that they make? Because I don't understand.
The decision is not made when you're standing in front of the officer. It's made before you get there. Because the officer knows nothing about you until you hit submit on the application. So your DS-160 is what determines what the officer knows about you. And so that's why I made the point about saying the picture you even submit with that application tells a lot. So if you say that, let's say you want to go to high school in the United States, but your picture looks like you're 45, that's a straight up denial. You get what I mean? Or let's say you say you're a business person, you're coming to B1 visa to go to a business conference, but your picture has nothing that looks like a person who's a business. Your application says nothing about a person who owns a business. You're going to get denied. So it's purely factual based because the officer knows nothing about you. You're right. Most of the time they have at most 10 minutes, if even, to speak with you. And so
they don't 10 minutes. It's not possible. I haven't even seen it before. Like less than 2 minutes, and then that's it, and you're gone. Yeah. So they review the process before you even get there.
Because they know nothing about you. You could be anybody. So what they're looking at is the forms that you submitted to make sure that everything on there is accurate. To see the picture, okay. To see what is your reason for going. You said you want to apply for a fiance visa. No problem. It's your fiance. Are you indeed single? Because some people will file for a fiance visa, but then also would have done it traditional marriage, which within the U.S. law, that is considered a marriage. And so you're saying you want a fiance visa, but here are pictures on Instagram of your traditional marriage, so you're not a fiance, so you'll get denied. So I don't need to speak to you for 10 minutes to tell you you're denied. I could just tell you, hi, nice to meet you, denied, you know.
That's really sad.
Yeah. Which is why I'm having this seminar, because people don't know that.
Yes, exactly. And it's happening this Thursday.
Yes.
At the Lancaster Hotel.
Correct.
How do people register?
So you can visit our website or just contact our office line, 508-439-4445, and my team will just assist you with that.
What's 508?
So that's our area code so my office is based in Massachusetts. So the country code is 1, and then 508 is the area code for the state that I live in.
Okay, how about Ghana? Is there any number that they can call?
Not yet. Check back in about 2 weeks, because we're going to be launching the Ghana office soon.
Okay, but then, how do they contact you to attend this seminar? Do you have any social media pages?
Oh, so we're on Instagram. So it's Bethel Law Immigration. So
Bethel,
yes.
Are you a pastor too?
My father is, and my husband is, but I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a pastor's child, not a pastor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So please, Bethel Law
Immigration.
Correct. Okay. Does immigration law pay?
I'm not struggling. Let's put it that way. It's comfortable. It's comfortable. Yeah.
All right.
I don't do it for the money.
You're having the next one in Kumasi,
next Wednesday. Correct.
Okay. All the best. When do you say you're setting up the Ghana office?
So by the end of this month, we should officially be launching. Yeah, I just came to lay eyes on the actual space, and once everything is all set, we'll launch it. So.
Thank you very much for speaking with us. Rhoda Frimpong, she's an immigration expert lawyer, and she's having a conference this Thursday at the Lancaster Hotel. What time does it start?
So doors open at 6, the program starts at 7.
6 a.m.?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Yes. And 7 p.m. we start. And this is American time, so 7 p.m. on the dot, I'll be starting.
All right. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I want you to stay with me. I have to do a few birthday wishes, so we do it together.
Sure.
But you need to speak very clearly so that they can hear you.
No problem.
Okay, so let's go with the birthday wishes if they're ready. Okay, so I'll go first. May God shower you with blessings today and always. I hope all your birthday wishes come true. Happy birthday, Gabi the Revelator. Hey,
wow.
From Kwame Iniesta in Konongo. Happy birthday to you. Can that actually be someone's real name? Okay, let's go.
Okay, you're one of a kind and deserve everything that this special day brings. Happy birthday, Dance Hall Horde, Zani.
It's better, we can manage with it. Happy birthday, our mother, our Queen Sisi. We're so blessed to have you as a mother, and we really appreciate you. Age with grace and in good health. It is our prayer that our great-grandchildren also benefit from the love you're showering us with. From your children, Mame Ampim Dakwa and Patience Adams. Okay.
Happy birthday to the finest presenter of Rhythms Live, Krache. God bless your new age.
Okay, there's more.
Oh boy.
Happy birthday, my love, Abinanya Redu. On your special day, I just want to take a moment to remind you of how incredibly blessed I am to have you in my life. You bring so much light, love, and joy into my world, and I thank God for you every day. Your kindness, strength, and beauty never ceases to amaze me. Today, I celebrate you, the wonderful woman, the loving wife, and true partner that you are. I'm so grateful for the love we share and the life we are building together. May this year bring you as much happiness as you bring to me and everyone around you. Happy birthday, my queen. I love you more than words. Aish.
Okay. Happy birthday to Judith Quagrin of First Atlantic Bank. We pray for God's blessings and favor on you. From Ezra, happy birthday.
Wow, so many birthdays. May God grant you long and healthy life as you celebrate your 8th birthday. May every stage of your life be guided by God, and may you continue to grow in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Happy birthday, Gabriela Erefua Yaba Savage.
Happy birthday, Samuel T. Adano, journalist of Graphic Communications Group. From your wife, Basti, the children, Delia, Delvin, and Dita, we love you so much, and we thank God for blessing us with you. We pray for a long time with good health. Amen.
Amen. Well, you're another year older, another year more beautiful, another year more loved. Happiest of birthdays to Mame Ya Bruni inside Asante Achimagogo from 1-6. Oh, she works with us here actually.
Happy birthday, Erica. May your day be filled with joy, love, and celebration. God bless you from Abigail.
Happy birthday to you, Erica. She's a very cool girl. That's it, by the way. Thank you so much, Rhoda Frimpong, for doing this with me. And thank you very much for watching the show. We'll be back same time tomorrow, God willing. I am Serwaa Amihere. Don't forget to attend the immigration seminar. But before we go, though, you know, Rhoda, you know there's an LGBT campaign going on here, right?
Yeah.
What's your stance on it? It's just, by the way, don't worry.
On Ghana?
Yeah. We trying to pass the law?
I don't think projecting another country's views and values into another country is proper sovereignty. What I mean by that is if it's not something that the people of Ghana want, projecting the beliefs and values of another country into Ghana is not the proper execution of a sovereign nation. Ghana is a sovereign nation. States in the United States are sovereign states. There's some laws that pass in Massachusetts that may not pass in Texas.
Right.
And Texas cannot enforce Massachusetts or vice versa. So if the reason why it's being considered is because of external influences, then I think that needs to be considered.
No, we're actually trying to pass a law that's against it.
Right.
Yes, but I mean, you were born here. How long did you live here before you?
Just
you
about
migrated?
7 years old.
About 7 years. Do you think the people of Ghana want it?
The culture that I know Ghana to have, no.
No. Okay. So the proponents of the bill, right, are marching today because they believe that the courts of Ghana are intentionally delaying the process because there are some writs that are being filed at the court.
Right.
You know, challenging the constitutionality of the bill. And the decision rests with the court to deal with the matter very quickly so that the bill can be passed into law. And that is delaying. So the proponents of it are on the streets this morning. And my colleague, Obed Kingaglo, has been marching with them. And he joins me live. Obed, thank you very much. Where are you now and what do you have? The line is very bad and we are very sorry about that to our viewers. I wanted to bring you a wrap of it before leaving you this morning, but trust that, you know, on the midday news, we'll bring you a very comprehensive coverage of it. This is GH Today. I am Serwaa Amihere. Thank you very much for your time. I'll see you same time tomorrow, God willing. Have a very good morning.